sponsor of the pod. BlackRock, official sponsor of the pod. Bash's Water, official sponsor of the pod.
I'm going to put that bad boy on mute.
Patrick Ortman, official sponsor of the pod. No. Yeah, I'll do the same.
Empty the pockets.
Early in the AM, I sometimes get some morning calls, so it's good to take that out. How you doing, sir?
All good.
Here, pop these bad boys on.
All right.
See how it sounds for you.
Is there a right and left?
I think there is. I think that's the way to do it, actually.
You are in my head, man.
Yeah, how does it sound?
Sounds good.
Nice. Okay. So just try to keep the mic maybe about a fist distance from you. Feel free to move it around. If it's loose or anything, you can tighten it up right here.
I'm sure I'll get scolded.
Yeah. That's all right. Good morning. Well, cheers, bud. You want to cheers some coffee?
Cheers it up. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going to get after some vodka and like Bloody Marys this morning, or if we were going to be civilized humans.
We have beers if you'd like.
No, dear God, no.
Yeah, it's a little early. I've got to work after this.
I actually technically am not supposed to have any food or anything like that, but I'm going to break the rules. I have some imaging later this afternoon that I got to go to, and try to not drink a whole bunch of water, or eat a whole bunch of food.
Oh, really? What's the imaging for?
I think I have a hernia.
Oh no, that sucks. Wow.
For the second time. So, like a decade ago, kind of a funny story. I don't know if this is how your podcast is going to start, but here we go. So Black Friday, Home Depot is running a outdoor propane heater sale. So the ones with the big tin hats on top and the giant propane tank. And my wife loves to hang out next to our pool, and she's wanted one for a really long time. So I saw perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Cruise down for the Black Friday sale, and there's like 10 of them in the aisle, and they're all different, right? Like this one is 20,000 BTUs, but it has adjustable heat where you can vector it in one direction. Another one is more heat, but it's not adjustable, and I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons, and I'm on my phone because I don't shop for propane heaters all that often, despite popular belief. And as I'm doing my research, this Scottsdale bitch comes around the corner, and she's got 2 Home Depot guys with carts, and she goes, "I'll take all of them." And she's got her big puffy lips and her bolt-on titty kickball things, you know. And I'm like, "No, you don't." And I just grabbed the first one that was in front of me off the shelf, and I started like running up to the front from the Home and Garden Center all the way to the front cashier, right?
No.
And the lady goes, "Do you want some help with that?" I'm like, "Nope, I got it." And she goes, "Do you want some help getting it out to your car?" I go, "I've already gone this far."
Loan it up.
Get out to the car, and this thing's a really awkward 130, 140 pounds. Because it sticks out way far from your chest, so you're really like doing this whole thing.
Not even weight distributed or anything.
I get it into my car, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't feel so good." I'm like, "Uh-oh, that's not great."
Oh gosh.
So I keep it a secret because it's going to be a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
And so Christmas morning, my wife is unwrapping her big propane heater, and I'm like, "Merry Christmas." She's like, it's so perfect. I'm so excited by this. And I go, "I have a hernia and I need to go to the doctor." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I go, so I told her the story, and she's like, "Okay, well, let's try to get you in." She calls, and they can't schedule me until the next year.
Oh, wow.
Which means that
it's Christmas, so like a week.
Right. My deductible was already paid up for the year, so I wouldn't have had to pay anything out of pocket for this surgery. So no good deed goes unpunished. I not only had to have surgery, but had to pay my next year's deductible as a result.
Up front? That sucks.
So there we are. And then...
How long before Christmas did you buy it? Did you wait? How long did you have to wait before
I bought it on Black Friday, and I waited until Christmas.
Oh, gosh. So you'd already waited 45 days or so.
It was funny because I talked about buying a new motorcycle, and my wife goes, "Hey, for Christmas, I know that we like to do surprises and stuff, but let's just go buy you that motorcycle right now." And I said, "No, I don't really think that that's prudent right now." And she's like, "I don't get what's going on." I'm like, "I'm just rethinking my choice of motorcycles, and until I figure it out, I'm not going to do anything."
Oh gosh, really? You're just like hurting. Every poop is just everything. You're going through it.
I would cough, and just the idea of like getting on a big bike and trying to move it around on the road and stuff was just a non-starter for me.
Oh gosh,
so,
that's terrible. And so, how long ago was that?
That would have been about 8 years ago.
When
we first got to Arizona.
And you think you've got another hernia now?
Yes.
This one from Jiu Jitsu, or?
It is adjacent Jiu Jitsu. So one of the gym owners at my gym, Steve, shout out Steve, he and I have been training over at Anytime Fitness in Fountain Hills. And one of the exercises exercises that I do is this incline sled. It's on rollers. You put your arms up here and you crunch your knees uphill.
Oh, okay.
To make
it's like a core workout.
It's exactly a core workout.
Yeah.
And so normally what you do is you put both knees on and you pull yourself up. What I do is put a 45-pound plate on there, put one foot on, not a knee, a foot, and pull the whole leg up with just one foot. And I'm thinking like, Toriando defense, that knee retention against your chest kind of strength, right?
Okay, sure.
And about the third set, I go, oh, I think I pulled a muscle. And Steve's like, you okay? I go, no, I'm fine. Just keep going like a dummy.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are. So now I'm getting some imaging.
Tonight or today?
2 o'clock.
Oh, wow. Well,
I went on Monday. It was pretty funny. Stopped at the walk-in clinic and they said, what's wrong? I said, I think I've got a hernia. Why do you think that? I said, it feels exactly like the last one, but there's been a repair. And so the doctor, who's female, which doesn't bother me, I've showed and tell before. She goes, well, we're going to need to take a look. I'm going to get a chaperone to come in here. And I understand. Sure, fair enough. So invites another lady into the room. And so now I'm in front of 2 girls and I feel like it's a moment from like Magic Mike or something. Do I need to shake or something? And as I'm standing there and she's like clinching my junk in a very professional way. Another lady opens the door and goes, oh, sorry. And I'm like, oh my God, how much of the clinic is coming into my hernia inspection here?
Wow.
So it's been a little bit traumatic.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully that works out well.
Well, I think that your podcast is appropriately named No Credentials, and you can see the way that it's starting. There's clearly no credentials going on here.
Exactly. Wow, that's pretty terrible. I think I thought I had a hernia at one point. I was having problems with something. I had to get one of those fingers in the butt.
Oh, yeah.
A little prematurely. I think typically you don't have to do that until around like 40 or so, but I had to do that a couple times, so that was unfortunate. Yeah.
I hope it wasn't like at a bus stop.
Yeah, no, it was in a doctor's office. Yeah. The only weird thing was the guy had both his hands on my shoulders, so I wasn't sure how he was getting the finger in there.
You ever seen the movie Fletch?
No, I don't think so.
Well, there's a great line in Fletch where Fletch is bent over the table and the doctor's doing an exam. And he's like talking, like, so how long have you known Alan for? Oh, Moon River. He's like, you using the whole fist there, Doc, or what?
Yeah, that's funny. My stepdad would talk about how he's got a small doctor because he's got small hands.
Smart.
It's easy to work with.
Very, very smart.
Yeah.
I got my first colonoscopy. Yeah, we're just going to keep going down this trail here. When I was 40, would have been like 5. So a little late to the game. And I lost a whole bunch of weight. And I was doing Jiu Jitsu at this point, and I saw myself go from like 160, 155, 150, and I'm eating like crazy. And I'm not having solid bowel movements. And this went on for about 9 months or so. And I thought that I had like food poisoning or something like that, that I just wasn't like remedying for some reason. So
maybe like a tapeworm or something.
Wasn't sure, man. My wife thought I had cancer. Can you imagine that whole scenario? Horrible. So went to my normal doctor and he did a whole bunch of exams, blood draw, stool sample, etc. And he's like, got your test results back? Don't know.
Wow.
And I'm like, so what do we do now? He goes, I could just give you an antibiotic. I'm like, what are we trying to kill? And he was like, I don't know. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like proper medical procedure. Why don't we just put leeches on?
Yeah, exactly. We should maybe try bloodletting.
Let's just
let
guess
some
at
blood
it.
out. Yeah.
So that's kind of the problem with healthcare, in my opinion, is I don't think there's real healthcare these days.
Yeah, it seems weird. I don't know if you've seen Dana White talking recently, but he's got this guy who does, I think his name's Gary. He does like, I guess, takes your blood work and then just based on your blood work gives you all a client-specific recommendation and has had like incredible results with different people. If you've seen Dana, he's like much more in shape than he was a couple years ago. Yeah,
I heard he got like some sort of bad news that he's got like a few years to live if he doesn't change.
So that guy, apparently he can tell you like to the exact date when you're gonna die or like like within a year when you're gonna die. And he was like 50 at the time and he's like, you got 11 years. And he's like, what the fuck? So
what if Dana skinned him a couple hundos? Would it change? Like, oh, you got 30 more years.
Now you got 11 in 6 months.
Yeah.
Need a couple more hundos than that. So did you get that figured out or?
Yeah. So that doctor encouraged me to go to a gastroenterologist. I think I said that correctly. And I'm like, finally, I'm in front of a guy. All that he does is GI stuff, so this should work out. And they did the standard, we got to jam the flagpole and take a look.
Jam the flagpole, is that the...
Well, it was some sort of a probe. I don't know. They put you under for that procedure, which is great.
Okay, yeah.
Because I didn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
It was actually another horrible experience. I don't know what it is with the ladies and me, like revealing all the worst parts of me. But the lady who came in to prep me for the procedure was smoking hot. And I have an awesome wife that I love immensely, and I have no interest in other women for that reason alone. But there's something about, why couldn't it be like an old, ugly, like grade school teacher? Like, all right, get over on your side. Let's take a peek down there and see what's going on. It's not my best angle.
Yeah.
So they rooted around, and there was no polyps, there was no cancer, there was nothing. And he's like, good news. And I'm like, awesome. But we don't know what's wrong with you. And I'm like, okay, so...
Yeah.
And he goes, watch your diet. And I'm like, Doc, you don't even understand, my diet right now is insane.
Yeah, like very clean.
Super clean.
Do you drink or anything?
Very infrequently. I think in the last, since the Malort incident, I probably had like 2 drinks.
Oh, wow. I don't think you even participated that night. Maybe the next day
I stuck my tongue in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just
enough to dab the nastiness. For anybody who's listening in, Malort is the worst drink ever created as a result of prohibition. And they would just drink anything.
Is that what the reason that they started it was prohibition?
Yeah. Did I not tell you that?
I don't think so.
So we were on a river tour in Chicago, looking at all the architecture, and they were telling great stories about Al Capone used to hide out here and stuff. And one of the things that our tour guide encouraged us to do is, before you leave, enjoy some Malort.
Yeah.
And somebody raises their hand, what's Malort? And he said, it's a local beverage that was designed by, I believe the person was from Sweden or Switzerland, one of the S countries over there. A fellow named Malort. And when Prohibition hit, you couldn't have regular alcohol for many years. So he created a intestinal medicine that would help you cure all sorts of ailments. Maybe that's what I should have taken for my thing.
Oh, maybe. Maybe you should have got back into it.
Maybe that would have been the thing I should have told the doctor, Malort. And so the guy said, well, what does it taste like? He goes, oh, good question. It tastes exactly like gasoline and lawn clippings.
Yeah, it's horrible. And most people actually word it like, oh, Malort's delicious. You've never been here? You got to try it. It's a great shot. It's one of the local favorites. And then you try it, and it literally tastes like paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
You know what Malort is? It's the joke that your friends play on you at the bar that your brother used to do, and he's like, no, get in the car. I promise I won't move it this time. You reach for the door handle, and he moves forward, kind of the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Trust me, the second one's going to be just fine. You're going to love it. You have to have at least 3 before you really get into
And then it cleanses the palate.
Yes.
It gets, and then you're ready for the actual taste.
Totally.
Wow. So did you end up figuring it out, or?
I will get to the story at some point. Yeah.
Hey, we got time.
So, no, we didn't figure it out. And I was really distressed by this situation because I was like weak, fatigued. I was like on the verge of passing out.
Losing a ton of weight.
And I think I was just excreting all of my nutrients and stuff. I wasn't digesting food. So my wife said, hey, I have a naturopath. And I think that's like voodoo. Like, why don't we just go to a witch doctor? How about we go to somebody who's actually gone to school? And it was that moment that I really appreciated what real medicine looks like. She sat down with me for about 45 minutes, and all we did was talked. Before she pulled out any probes or stick out your tongue or let's get a stethoscope on this, none of it. Where my first doctor was 5 minutes, drew some blood, and then said, I don't know, let's just give you medication. The second guy said, well, I'm a carpenter. Everything is a nail. I'm just going to hit it with my hammer.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, did you take the antibiotic when it was first recommended? No. Okay,
I'm not a medication guy.
I really don't like antibiotics too. I mean, they really hurt you. Unless you have to, it's like a really last resort.
Look at Gordon Ryan, man.
Yeah, his stomach is maybe permanently fucked for that. Yeah.
Destroyed. And I don't know that it's all antibiotics, but I have a sneaky suspicion.
I think that's his thought, is because of a repeated series of antibiotics, his stomach is just permanently fucked.
Yep. So I didn't want to be that guy. So the naturopath, after I got done with the question, she goes, sounds to me like you have SIBO, which is a bacterial overgrowth of your intestine. And usually what winds up happening is you eat something skunky, you do get food poisoning. It sets up shop in your lower intestine and never clears. And I said, how do we fix it? She said, there's 2 ways. There's a very specific antibiotic. You can't use a general antibiotic. And I'm like, I wanted to text the other doctor, like, you would have killed me, you son of a bitch. Or we can go a natural route. It will take a little bit longer, but it's garlic and lemon and a couple of other things. And you just do this like longer cleanse and it will clear it up. And then afterwards, you got about 6 weeks of the first week you get to eat like almonds and water. And then the next week you get to fold in like green beans. You know, it's just the worst, longest 6 weeks of your life because you're just hungry for real food. But holy shit, she fixed that crap.
Wow. So did you do just the diet change?
Yep.
Wow.
And then I've actually diagnosed 2 other people with the exact same thing. They went to a naturopath and they go, "You're right.
Wow.
It was the bacterial overgrowth."
Wow. Do you ever like drink kombuchas or like probiotics, those type of
Every
things?
single day. I do apple cider vinegar in the evening before I go to bed, and I do kombucha in the day. You got to watch out for that kombucha shit though, because it's heavy sugar.
It is a lot of sugar. Yeah. So if you drink a lot of it, you're just eating a lot of sugar.
Right. So I have, like 6 ounces a day or something like that.
Well, there's certain ones that are like Whole30 approved or whatever that are extremely low sugar.
Yeah.
So it's just a probiotic tea. Most of them add the sugar to make it sweeter or tastier. So there's a bunch of ones that are good. But it's funny, my mom had a similar issue. I wonder if it was exactly that. But she went to Las Vegas. She ate some sort of Chinese food or something. And since that meal, she couldn't eat a meal that like wouldn't just, I guess, like run right through her. Just stomach was just messed up for months afterwards. And then I think it was, she got onto, she just started drinking kombuchas, do a lot of probiotics. Oh, I sent her this like gut health, straight from On It. It's a whole system of vitamins that is just to optimize gut health. And just from that, cured it.
Changing lives.
Yeah, it was something just to do with her gut flora.
Yep.
Yeah.
What we put into our body is what our body becomes, right?
Totally, yeah. And they say that your gut health is like your second brain. Like it can really influence your mood and your mental health and all sorts of things.
Do you wear a fitness tracker of any kind?
I don't. No, I really don't like any. I don't like anything strapped to me, especially. I'm maybe open to it. That way, I could like be more precise with monitoring. But yeah, I don't wear a watch or anything. Occasionally, I'll wear like a nice watch if I'm going out, but I don't wear a watch and I don't strap anything to me during training. I'm curious how it affects like I guess like sliding in submissions or in certain things. Where do you wear it? Well, on your bicep?
Yeah.
On the shoulder?
This is a Whoop strap, and they actually have a padded bicep band. So it's like a sleeve, like you see basketball players wearing the full arm sleeve kind of a thing. It's got a little pocket.
A friend of mine has that. He wears it over the bicep.
Yeah, it works really well. And to your point, your stomach is the key to like all health. Your vagal nerve connects to the stomach, and that nerve is responsible for your sympathetic and parasympathetic states. And so
vagal nerve, is that that's in your stomach?
Yep.
Interesting.
So it connects. It's brain to stomach connection.
Interesting.
And when that nerve is not properly nourished and in a rested state, it keeps your body in a fight or flight situation, right? And so when you're in fight or flight all the time, your body doesn't recover, it doesn't heal from injuries, your mood decreases, like everything goes down. So
interesting.
Getting that gut health in shape is huge. So I had my Whoop strap during the whole gut drama, right? And my HRV, which is the heart rate variability, which is essentially when your heart is at rest, it doesn't need to keep a metronome like beat. It's not dun 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 dun. Instead, it can be like dun 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 dun, because it's not stressed. It's not trying to fight off anything.
Gotcha. Yeah. Versus when you start getting like excited or in competition or something, if you're about to do
Super
something.
rhythmic.
Yeah, rhythmic and
elevated.
Yeah, and elevated. Okay.
So when I was wrestling with my gut issue, my HRV was super low. There was no variability. It was always in a fight or flight state. I got my gut health right, and my HRV like quadrupled.
So you want a high heart rate variability.
A lot of variance in your heart rate is what you're looking for.
Interesting.
The more variance between the beats, the healthier you are. Somebody who's young like yourself might be in the 100 range. Somebody who's much older, 60, might be like 20. Or something like that. And that will change over time.
Yeah.
Or so I'm told. But as your overall health, that includes just all physical, as well as heart health and gut health, your HRV will improve as a result. So if you can get those dialed in. So that's all.
Interesting.
So there's your, is Whoop sponsoring us?
Whoop is an official sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah, good,
thank
good.
you. Yeah,
I'm
thank
glad
you,
we got
Whoop.
that shout out.
Yeah, so I think Taylor wears an Apple Watch. That's what a lot of people use, and I think that's what my buddy Ben does too for the shoulder one. But that's interesting.
I believe in tracking all that sort of stuff human performance is a really big deal. Do you like listen to like Ben Greenfield or anybody who's gone through the Joe Rogan podcast who's talked about human performance?
Maybe Andrew Huberman is like very much
Big
about
time.
human optimization, or Audrey Marcus,
Yep.
the CEO of On It. Those two guys are probably most in that field that I listen to. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many good voices, and I think that they're all saying the right thing. You know, when you shop around the outside edge of the supermarket, you're doing better than when you go up and down the aisles.
Yeah,
If it's in a box, if it's in a bag, if it's in a can,
Yeah.
kick that shit to the curb.
Yeah.
So that clean eating, and then just keeping track of your body and listening to it. Unlike me, who keeps carrying the propane heater out to the car. Listen to your body when it's talking to you. It's super, super important.
Yeah.
And so this is just one tool to help you understand what your body is saying, in my opinion. And if you're into things like Jiu Jitsu, or maybe you're a water down at the gym, or whatever your particular pastime is, if you're consuming a lot of your body every single day through hard workouts and stuff like that, you have to have a recovery protocol.
Yes.
And if you're not measuring the effectiveness of your protocol, you're just throwing darts blind.
That's a good point for sure. Yeah, it's just a way to like monitor, and so you can look at the results and then adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
That's something I probably should look into, because I think, I don't know if it's just a mental thing or something. I turned 30 like a couple months ago, so I'm officially an old man now.
Yeah.
And
Are you masters?
Yeah, I am masters. I probably won't enter a masters tournament until I'm just maybe at least for a few years right now. I want to continue to just compete with the adults and do that, but I don't know if it's mental or something, or if it's just been because like happenstance, having a couple injuries in a row. But I really do feel that my body like hurts more recently. Like just little injuries are more nagging, and I'm having to take a more like tempered approach to actually having a recovery routine. Yoga has been great for me a lot, although I haven't gone in probably over a month now. So that was my, recovery routine. And now I just don't really, I need to make sure I do something. Yeah.
Is it Taylor that goaded you into yoga, or were you doing that before?
I was actually doing it before we met.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I really do like yoga.
Keep it real.
Yeah. She's great though. It's really cool because she's been doing it a very long time.
Yep.
And so it's cool. Like, I've been doing jujitsu like maybe 7.5 years, and she's been doing it like maybe 2.5 years or something like that. And then we're sort of vice versa on yoga. Like she's been doing it like 9 years.
Yep.
And I've been only doing it a couple of years. And so it's cool. We can like kind of teach each other different things. She'll take me through flows like before workouts. We'll just loosen up that way, or, just hanging out at the house. We'll do stuff like that.
What else are you doing for recovery?
A lot of sleep, and occasionally I'll do cold plunges at this place. I forget the name of it actually. Gosh. It's near Tim's gym in Peoria. They've got a really cool complex where there's Tim Welch's gym, and then there's the Recharge Center, which I get my food from all the time. Kyle Hannon, he's a really cool guy. He came on the podcast. He runs that, and then right next to it is this. Gosh, I can't think of the name of it. It's called the Recharge Center is the food place, and then this is I forget what it's called, but it's great. He's got cold plunges, hot sauna, red light therapy, and for a while I was doing it every Friday and doing the cold plunge like that. That's been helpful, but other than that, not really too much. I probably should do more.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
Got a job.
Yeah.
Got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Got activities. You got your own tournament. You got a podcast. Like, where do you squeeze all that in?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, part of it's just like committing to some sort of routine and doing it. Luckily, like Taylor is, into all the same stuff. So really we share all that time together. So it's not like I have to make time for her outside of that. I think diet, or really like committing to keeping a primarily healthy diet, it would be a good thing to like help with my body a bit. I think I've almost developed a little bit of like not an eating disorder, but a semi-eating disorder, because of like preparing for competitions. I keep just an extremely disciplined diet where I don't vary from it at all primarily. And then afterwards, I just go off the deep end and I just start eating everything. And so trying to temper that afterwards and just like get like a healthy diet while not, eating whatever I want while, not just completely staying off the deep end is something that I need to like do a little bit better of.
I think, the original hunter-gatherer in you, when they found the berry bush, they gorge, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you do need to reward yourself. I think you need to be somewhat human. And if you've been working towards something for a long time, maybe that's your break. But I don't think that it's a good idea to eat Captain Crunch every single day.
For sure.
Or, those sorts of things. So
yeah.
I think that, the concept of better has no end. Like it's just, it's an evolving thing. And so if you feel like your diet could get better, it probably can.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then just moving the needle is what makes you exceptional, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Because most people aren't willing to move the needle at all.
For sure. Yeah.
So
like dialing down more and more and more. And like you said, better has no end. There's always more you could be doing. Yeah. Do you keep a fairly healthy diet?
I would like to think so.
Yeah. What does your diet consist of?
Well, it's actually changed in the last 2.5 years. Can I go off-road for a second here?
Go off-road.
All right. So you're a commercial real estate guy, and so I'm going to start there. I was actually looking to buy a building for my business it would have been December of 19. So exactly when you want to get into commercial real estate, right?
That'd have been a great time to buy one.
So,
or depending if it was an office building or not.
It was an office building.
Okay. Well, maybe a good thing. I don't know if you did or not.
It didn't. It didn't happen, thankfully. So, put an offer in on the building. They rejected the offer. The pandemic officially hits. I slow my roll a little bit, like not sure what to do with it. So I had this money just kind of sitting around for real estate. And I found a piece of residential property that I really appreciated, so I bought it. And so it's 10 acres out near Goldfield Ranch, and it's adjacent to the national forest. So I'm really a big outdoors guy.
Awesome.
And so it just feels good being out on my hilltop. There's nobody around me, and I have 1 million acres to the north.
Nice.
And it's awesome.
Wow, it's just land.
Just land.
Awesome.
And we're going to build a house and all those sorts of things. Right now, it's just a really expensive shooting range.
There you go.
So I'm out there one day, and I'm cleaning up some old barbed wire that had been left out there for 1 trillion years. And I see somebody trespassing on top of my hill. So I go sprinting up the hill, and I'm like, hey, fella, how's it going? He's like, good. And he's all dressed in camo, and he's got his glasses, his binoculars. And I said, what you doing? He goes, looking for javelina. I go, cool. Did you see any? He's like, no, nothing yet. And I go, hey, whose property is this? And the guy goes, oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I go, mine. And you're trespassing. And it was like such a dick move, but it felt good in the moment. And he's like, shit, dude, I apologize. I thought this was national forest. And I said, well, there's no trespassing signs. He goes, oh, I came in from over there. And I had never put up any no trespassing signs on that side. So I go, all right, I'll give you a pass on this one. So we just sat down, we started talking. Turns out he's a human performance doctor in Scottsdale, and his wife is a world-renowned cardiologist, and they have a preventative healthcare practice in Scottsdale. So she had done millions of, that's probably an exaggeration, thousands of open heart surgeries.
Wow.
And she always sees people at the end stage. And everything is a sequence of events. You don't get to her table unless you had plaque, you ate poorly, you made the decision to eat poorly, like all these things.
And not just once, over a period of years.
And she's like, if I could interrupt that process here instead of on my table, saving your life, I could save thousands of people that'll never have to have their rib cage cracked. And so this guy starts telling me about their practice. And I'm like, this is awesome. Do you take insurance? He goes, no. It's 15 grand a year. They only have 100 patients.
Wow.
At any given time. And their promise is that you will never die of a stroke, you will never die of a heart attack if you do this program.
Wow.
And I'm like, sign me up. So they take me into their practice, and they do this gigantic intake evaluation. And they, just like that first doctor, the integrative health medicine lady that I talked about earlier, they sit down with you for a couple hours, sat down with my wife, and they said, now, if you don't want to hear bad news, this is your chance to pull the ripcord and get out. Because you're going to get bad news. Everybody's body's in some state of needing repair.
Yeah, sure.
And I said, sign me up. And if you're not willing to follow through with a very strict protocol, potentially, this is not the place for you. I said, sign me up. So they go through calcium scan, CT scan, ultrasounds, VO2 max, stress test, genetic testing. Their blood draw kit, they came out with this like toolbox full of vials, and they're like, we need to fill this up. I'm like, I'm not going to have any blood left after that. Good God. And so they tested all of these various parameters, and they give you just a volume of paperwork on you. And we went through every single page one at a time for hours. And I did that 6 times in a year, where I just retest. And we kept dialing in the diet, the vitamin supplements, and all those sorts of things. They're very, I don't want to say anti-medicine, but they prefer to cure things naturally wherever possible, right?
Do like supplements or just diet change?
Both.
So you like take basically a stock of where you're at. They say you adjust here, and then in 2 months you come back, do the same thing.
That's it. Yep. And so the diet that they settled on for me was largely dictated by my current state of health as well as my genetics. So I didn't know this, and maybe you do, but some people have genetics that allow them to process alcohol more effectively than other people. And so they can drink all night long and feel like just $1 million the next day. Their body efficiently gets rid of it. Other people, not so much. So it goes with red meat. So it goes with sugar. So it goes with a whole bunch of other things. And it's just truly genetics. And the way they put it to me is there's 3 things that influence your propensity for heart attack or stroke: lifestyle, diet, and heredity. And a couple of those things you can affect. The heredity thing, not so much. She said that if your genes are bad, it's like being a smoker, a drinker, a non-exerciser. Even if you do perfect diet and perfect exercise over here, you are that healthy.
Oh, wow.
So ideally, you want to have perfect genetics and do these things perfect.
Sure.
Well, my tests come back, and if there's a score of 1 to 4, 1 being the worst, 4 being the best, I scored a 1.
Oh, gosh.
So
overall, or just...
for my genetics.
Oh, gosh.
And so there's this one gene called the MTHFR, which is the mother effer, which is kind of funny, right? It's like perfectly named.
The mother effer gene.
And, your genes are strands, 2 strands that wrap around each other. So 1/2 of that gene is bad for me, and the other half is good. And then there's another gene that is all numbers and random letters that I can't remember. But that one is completely bad. So of the 4 strands, I have 1 good one between those 2 genes. And she said, you're going to have a harder road. You're going to have to really change your diet. So I told you I'd go off-road to get to this answer.
Yeah.
Worth it, though.
Yeah.
So they put me on a Mediterranean diet, which is horrible in the sense that I really love red meat. I actually love to hunt elk, deer, love a good ribeye.
What exactly is a Mediterranean diet?
It's mostly like a pescatarian style diet. So
just like fish and vegetables and
vegetables, healthy oils like olive oil versus your processed canolas and all that crap that you shouldn't be eating. And if you think about it, it's really tough to get like heavy or out of shape if you're eating leafy greens and tomato and stuff like that.
Sure.
There's just, and the salmon
no one gets fat off of salads.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless it's like one of those Taco Bell salads. Like the entire bowl is 8,000 calories and it's deep fried. It's like there was a comedian who was talking about it's a meat-based salad. It's a salad. And it's like 90% meat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my diet these days. And my breakfast I actually stole from Mike Dolce. Are you familiar with Mike? He's probably the premier dietitian for UFC fighters. He charges like 30 grand per fight, but he will guarantee that you make weight and you will show up fully nutrified. And none of his fighters have ever missed weight. So Ronda Rousey and all the big names have used him. He has a couple of different suggestions for things, meals that you can prepare. I use his breakfast every single morning. It's the same breakfast and has been for years. I haven't eaten like a box of cereal in probably a decade.
Wow. What is his breakfast?
It's oat bran, and then to that I add flaxseed, chia seed, a couple of nuts like almond and some walnut. There's also hemp heart in there. A scoop of just peanut butter, not a whole bunch of Skippy. This is inside of the jar is peanuts, crushed peanuts.
Yeah, like actual peanut butter.
Right.
Yeah, it's completely different texture.
Yeah, it's not even the same
taste,
thing. You gotta stir it.
Yeah,
and stuff.
the nut butter. Yeah, it's like 4 different levels before you open it. Yeah.
And so
what's the first thing? Oat something?
Oat bran.
So is that like
it's
like oatmeal kind of?
It's kind of like oatmeal, but it's a different part of the oat. And apparently it's a little bit more nutritious than oatmeal. And it actually cooks up quicker, so double win.
So you like add like water or like a milk?
So I use a scoop. I pre-make the whole thing, the whole mix. Take 1 cup, drop it into the pan, 1 cup of water, let it sit for about a minute, and then scoop it out. And so It's very nourishing. Like the peanut butter, along with like your hemp has quite a bit of protein in it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's like a meat. It's got, I think it's the only plant protein with a full amino acid complex.
Mm-hmm. It's kick ass.
Yeah,
totally.
Hemp
And
protein's very good.
your chia seeds and your flax seeds too, that really healthy oil we were talking about. And chia seeds, have you ever put those in water before?
No,
They swell up to like three times the size. It's like boba.
I think I have that. There's like a chia drink that's like all those little bubbles.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's very filling, and I can go to like 1 o'clock before I really feel like I need to eat. And then for lunch, it's usually leftover from whatever I had at dinner. Just
The day
eat
before.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a new dinner. And usually it's, today's going to be asparagus and salmon, or some white fish and, I don't know, salad of some sort.
So do you cook mostly yourself?
I do breakfast. My wife loves breakfast.
Yeah.
And I love to treat her to breakfast in the morning.
Oh, nice.
She's actually cried from not getting good breakfast before. We were in London one time, and we were sitting right on the river looking back at, not Buckingham, but Big Ben. And this little cafe had 2 chairs and a little table. It's exactly this European picturesque theme that you're thinking of. And she orders the English breakfast. And I don't know if you ever had English breakfast.
Yes.
Oh, it's just bullshit.
Yeah. You don't like it?
Oh my God,
just
it's the
eggs,
worst.
the worst type of bacon that
Yep.
they have.
And some beans
Yeah.
and like a slice of tomato. And she cried.
Oh, no. It's not like what we do at
No.
all, but their bacon is just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually do like the English breakfast, but their bacon is like nowhere close to American bacon. It's like little slices of ham.
Yeah,
Shouldn't even be in the same class as bacon.
totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I make her breakfast in the morning. And then usually my wife will do probably 70% of the dinners, and I'll do the other 30%. And then I'll do like the dishes or something like that. So
Nice.
split the load a little bit.
There you go.
I'll be honest though, she over indexes on helping around the house. I'm kind of the dead weight in that relationship there.
Nice. Well, that's cool.
So-
Nice.
Can we talk about something that really matters?
Sure.
Let's talk about the zombie apocalypse.
Okay. Which, by the way, I mean, you showed me your utility vehicle downstairs.
Yeah.
What a fucking vehicle that thing is.
Thanks, man.
I mean, it's a Toyota Tacoma with a pop-up tent on the top, a full fridge. You said you've got power for days, internet anywhere.
Yep.
The only thing that's a problem is that propane tank on top, because if you snipe that thing, it explodes. Yeah.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Death from afar.
Yeah, but what a vehicle that is.
Yeah, I enjoy being outside so much. I was actually born in a place called Freeman, South Dakota. And I
okay.
think it's super appropriate. I felt like the entire universe was conspiring when they made me. You know,
Yeah,
like-
in Freeman.
yeah.
Huh.
In Freeman, South Dakota, 200 people, and it's in the middle of nowhere.
Wow, 200 people population?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So really the middle of nowhere.
Oh, for sure. South
Wow.
Dakota, nowhere.
Wow.
So South Dakota, I don't know exactly what their population is
If
today.
you're in like the center of South Dakota, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And so in Freeman, you're really in the middle of nowhere.
For sure, the middle of nowhere. There's probably somewhere between 900,000 and 1 million people in all of South Dakota, and it's almost the same size as Arizona.
Wow.
So, I mean, here in the Phoenix Valley, what do we got? 4 million?
Yeah, about 4 million, like 7 in the state. Yeah.
So,
wow.
it's spread out for sure.
How interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, with that being said, I feel like I was born to be outside and away from people. So I just enjoy getting out, and that's why that truck exists.
How cool. You know, I think you told me that your parents were really young when they had you.
Yeah.
How old were they?
My mom was 17 and my dad was 18.
Oh, wow. How interesting.
Hey, Ortmans are virile.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
That's funny. A good friend of mine actually got his girlfriend pregnant on his very first time having sex.
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
That's like a half-court shot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just made it happen. Wow. So what was that like growing up from such young parents? Did they raise you?
Yeah. It was actually really hard. We were super poor. Like, there's poor and then there's us. We're somewhere way below that because in the middle of South Dakota, there's not a ton for a 17, 18-year-old kid to do, right?
Yeah, especially with 200 people. What do you, I mean, he's probably had to travel for work.
On a farm, that kind of thing. Actually, my dad was sort of a shit and ducked his responsibility and sort of didn't acknowledge that I was a thing. And so my mom moved into a shit little apartment and she waited tables and worked at a library and did all the
Everything that she
just
could.
whatever she could do. And the apartment that she was living in at the time, I think it was like, and I'm obviously not old enough to really recall, but it was like 6 rooms in a hallway and a bathroom at the end of the hallway that was
Oh, wow,
shared
shared
bathroom.
bathroom.
And so
this was
imagine
all in Freeman, or they moved? She moved
that
to
was
somewhere
Sioux
closer?
Falls.
Okay.
Which is a little bit bigger town. At that point, it was probably like 50,000 or something. So decent sized town. But imagine trying to raise a baby that needs constant diaper changes and stuff when there's a shared bathroom.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do.
Not great.
And do you have any other siblings, or?
I do. My brother is 6 years younger than me.
Okay, wow. Huh.
So somewhere along the line, my dad became a man and wanted to be a part of our life. And so about 2-ish years in, he returned. Actually turned out to be a freaking awesome dad.
Oh, wow.
Like,
That's awesome.
The best kind of dad that you could ever want. He's
cool.
unfortunately passed away, which was like really crushing.
It must have been, I mean, it wasn't of old age.
We were actually at a family reunion of all places, which, I mean, good. Everybody got to say goodbye.
Wow.
And he dropped over from a heart attack.
Gosh, wow.
So at
Sorry to
43,
hear. Goodness.
which is
wow.
super, super young. So here I am, a young man, and there's your dad.
Yeah.
And
And you were there when this happened?
no, I was there a couple hours earlier. I flew back. I was in law school at the time, and I needed to get back for class. I landed and got a phone call from my brother that I needed to come back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, 20 years since that happened. No, 20, a long time. It's weird when you're older than your dad.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're older than your dad ever was.
Yeah, older than my dad ever was.
How interesting.
And at 43, he seemed like the oldest guy in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And now that I'm way past that, well,
How old are you?
how old do you think?
I would have guessed not 43, honestly. I would have said you're maybe about 40.
49 and a half.
Oh, wow. Well, good for you.
I'm about to go to Masters 5. I won't have to wrestle you at ADCC.
Well, that diet is doing great for you. You look fantastic.
Trying, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
And you're getting after it in all ways, too. So that's really cool. Do you think there was any utility in your parents being so young, raising you? One thing that I've heard people talk about is that, like, in the contrast of, like, extreme, like, much older parents that raise you and are sort of helicopter parents that are over your every move, sometimes younger parents have this, they're young people in general, they have this sort of natural proclivity to not pay as much attention, and allows you more freedom as a young person, and maybe not always for the best. But what was it like being raised by such young people?
Yeah, I think that it's probably pros and cons. I don't think that there's any perfect balance there. The older parent can't get out of bed and go run around with the kid, and then the younger parent is still trying to be a kid themselves. So I don't know if one's better than the other, but from my experience, being super, super poor, I think I had a little bit of a unawareness of what money was. This is just life.
Yeah.
And we didn't get stuff. For Christmas, sometimes it'd be like, you get a used Frisbee from the Goodwill. Super excited. Awesome. So a gratitude for sure.
Wow.
And then an appreciation for hard work. My dad, like I said, he just something like engaged in him, and he became a man, and he went off to school, got his undergrad degree, which was cool. Decided to go to medical school, went to medical school.
Wow.
Did very well there, went on, did his residency, fellowship, became a nationally renowned spine surgeon.
Wow.
And so it was really weird because my entire life of going from not knowing anything about money or comfort or any of those things, and just seeing work ethic. My mom would work 2 jobs. My dad was going to school and working at the same time. And you could feel the discipline. You could feel the effort to go somewhere in their lives. And it was weird because one day I'm living in a hospital apartment that's a paid for apartment for doctors who have moved into the area, right? And I didn't have a bed. I'm sleeping on the floor. And the next day we went and bought a house, and it was like 4,000 square feet.
Wow.
And back in the 80s, that's a huge house, right?
It's a big house now.
It's a big house now,
Yeah.
for sure. And I'm like, what's going on here? And it didn't make any sense to me. And I'm like, I'll have my own room.
Wow.
I won't sleep on the couch or the floor or any of those sorts of things.
Not only that, you've got 4 other rooms for...
Yeah, life got really weird. And I'm glad that it happened when it did, because it was my sophomore year of high school. So I was never really part of the household when it was really, really affluent, because I moved out on my own when I was 18. But I got to see what work ethic can get you. And I think that has created a lot of drive in me. And now that I'm getting a little bit older, it's this wisdom that the old can't give away to the youth. I see people like you that get after it, and I'm like super proud of that sort of like early discipline. But I see so many other people that are frittering their life away in front of a video game, sitting on the couch and stuff like that. And they're not getting after it. And it's not going to get easier as you get older.
No.
And me today would pay everything that I've ever earned in my life to that young person to switch and have a chance to start over. You ever hear people at the jiu-jitsu gym, they're like, I wish I'd started this when I was 9.
Yeah. I said every single person who started jiu-jitsu.
Everybody, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you start jiu-jitsu in your 40s, you wish you had started in your 30s. You wish that you had competed at your first ADCC at 25 or whatever, not at 45. So I think that a lot of that comes from the grind of watching them and then just being old.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's no utility in saying, I wish I would have started earlier. I wish I would have done this earlier. There's like a Stoic principle, amor fati, love of fate. How it played out was perfectly how it should have played out. If you spend your time thinking, oh, I wish I would have done this, I should have said that, if only I would have done this, there's just no utility in that. It's a waste of your time. If you think this happened exactly perfectly how it should have happened and just control everything that's within your control now, that's how you move forward in a great direction. There's just no use in thinking, you know, I should have done this. So even though you didn't compete at ADCC at 25, fucking winning Masters Worlds at your current age and doing ADCC now, would you get third at Chicago or second?
Third.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what a beast. I mean, just absolutely getting after it. There's plenty of people who are like, you know, I'm almost 50 now. I can't do anything like that. You know, I'm, you know, barely able to
bullshit.
bicycle or, you know, go downstairs. So it's great what you're doing.
It's never too late. If you're still taking in air, it's never too late to be the person you want to be. And the only person standing between you and the person you want to be is the bullshit you keep telling yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this guy that just joined my gym, I've told this story before, but his name's John Lombardi. He was 58 when he joined. He just turned 59. He just started jiu-jitsu. He was at a Gracie Baja gym, did that for a little bit prior, and I think he was there maybe 3 or 4 months, but they didn't roll live at all. I think it's sort of typical, I guess, for them. For apparently a very long time, you never go live, you just do drilling. So he, knew I trained. He's good friends with my stepdad, and he checked out our gym once, loved it. It was a complete different from what he was used to, was, sparring regularly, doing this. He joined a competition only, 3 or 4 months into training. And I think it was Grappling Industries was the name of it.
Yeah.
And for how their master's division works, it's 18 through 29 as adults and 30 plus. And so he's 58 years old. He's like, I'm doing the 38 plus or 30 plus. And then, but you check that box where, if my weight isn't there, I'll go up in weight. If my age isn't available, will I go down in age?
Yeah.
And so no one signed up for the 30 plus. He's in the 18 to 29-year-old bracket, has 5 matches, wins 3 of them, 2 by submission,
Savage.
1 by 10 points, and like 10-0. And then the 2 that he lost was these like 22-year-old just juice heads. Both of them wrestled. One of them wrestled in college. The other one wrestled all 4 years of high school. Just not white belts in the first place, and absolutely just like juice to the gills. And so incredible performance. 58 years old, most people are not doing anything at the physical. I mean, he stays in great shape, is getting after it. He just competed again. I think he got armbarred and hurt his elbow a little bit. But I was talking to Issa. He's like, John walked off the mat and he's like, got to work my armbar defense. That was just, it was just first in his mind. It wasn't like the arm or anything. He's like, this is what I got to work on. So
you tell that guy to look me up. I respect people like that immensely. Yeah. It only gets harder as you move up, and certainly fighting kids that are kids.
Yeah.
I typically get paired up with 30-year-olds. That's usually what winds up happening. And
in competition, you're saying?
In competition, because there's not a lot of people in purple or brown or black belt divisions, right? Especially older. Like you get to some of these competitions, there's like 3 black belts that'll show up for all weight classes, all age ranges.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just across the board.
Yep.
Yeah, which is really interesting that like as people get more advanced, they stop competing as much. I think it's really a pride issue.
Yes, I was just going to say the exact same thing.
I think it is. I mean, people, these black belts are willing to send it at the biggest tournaments on, available. So a lot of them will sign up to ADCC and maybe the biggest IBJJF tournaments. But all these local ones, it's like, am I going to risk losing to some, random brown belt or some random person? And they just won't put themselves on the line, won't test themselves in that way. So it's been it's really interesting that that's the case.
It's Marcellus Wallace saying, that's ego fucking with you, man. Right?
I just watched Pulp Fiction with Taylor the other day. She hadn't seen it before.
Oh my God, it blew her mind, didn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
That's the best.
That's pride fucking with you, man. Yeah, and then who says it back to him? Oh,
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce Willis says it back to Yeah.
It's true. I think that if you're a black belt and you've achieved and you have sort of a bona fide position in your gym, maybe you're the gym owner, maybe you're one of the lead coaches, and you go out there and get beat, are people still going to, treat you with the same degree of reverence, Mr. Professor? And I think that's a huge mistake, man. We're all human.
Yeah.
And on any day you can get caught.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Gordon Ryan versus A-Rod. He got a hold of that ankle, and it was close.
Yeah, he broke his ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he broke his ankle.
Super close.
Yeah.
And that match could have gone the totally opposite direction. Now we have a new king and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, there's probably better examples of people who have overcome the mountain.
For sure. Well, I mean, it honestly doesn't matter if you lose. I think that is the thought. It's like maybe you own a school now, maybe you teach a lot of classes, and you think if I lose, they're not going to have the same respect from me, when it's not the case. I mean, one of the greatest joys that I have learning under Issa is that when we compete, we go to war together, and we go out there and put it on the line together, and win or lose, we're out there putting it on the line, getting after it. I mean, it's a super cool thing to, have this like brother in arm with you, who's not only a coach, but, a co-competitor and, right there with you, not just saying, oh, do this, you should do this, you should have done this. He's going out there and putting it on the line himself. So, I mean, that's what you respect the most. And, seeing impressive runs is obviously incredible, but I mean, win or lose, getting out there and competing just takes a ton of nuts in the first place, and it's a cool thing. Yeah. So
I mean, if you think about the progression of any jiu-jitsu player, they're sitting at home and they're thinking, I just watched a UFC event, I should do that.
Yeah.
Am I going to be good enough? Are they going to like me? Am I going to get hurt? And so before they ever walk through the gym door, they're overcoming a whole bunch of emotional hurdles that they put in their own way.
For sure.
And so then you get on the mat and you're just absolutely ragdolled as a white belt for the next year.
Yeah.
Everybody is owning you.
Yeah.
And then to say, you know what, I'm going to stand up on my own 2 feet and I'm going to go compete with the skills that I've got.
Yeah.
That person's overcome even more of those hurdles. So I have absolute respect for anybody that steps out, not only on a jiu-jitsu mat, but especially on a competition mat. Like, that's a whole nother breed of human that'll go to that level.
For sure, it is. And I think all those hurdles that you mentioned, it's really like self-imposed mental hurdles. A lot of them are non-existent or not real. And I think that's why some of the best people are the best, because the ultra best almost come with like a level of delusion where they truly cannot be beaten, and no matter at what level. And I think there really is some like legit utility in that, which just completely ignoring all of the negative thoughts or all of the, because a lot of those self-imposed hurdles can end up being what ends up hurting you in competition. It's like, you go in through with all these mental battles, and a physical battle, you're dealing with something in your own head when you really should be dealing with the person in front of you. So
the mental part of the game is probably the biggest part of the game.
It's a huge part.
And life.
Yeah.
Say something I'm going to read something for you here. I'm going to look it up real quick.
Okay, nice. Is this a quote? Or?
It's actually something that I wrote, and I don't think that, and maybe I'm being overcritical of myself here and creating my own hurdles. I don't think that I'm naturally delusional. Maybe I am.
Okay.
But maybe that's my delusion, is I don't think that I'm delusional, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've found to be very valuable in my life is the concept of positive self-talk, right?
Okay.
And getting into my own head and reshaping some of those negative attitudes. And so 2 years ago, well, a little over 2 years ago, almost 3 years now, Anthony Burchek came into our gym.
Okay.
And he was doing a seminar. And I know that Anthony was on your podcast not too long ago.
Yeah.
And it would have been great if I had interrupted the podcast in some way to thank him for that seminar that he gave. But he stopped in and he taught some really cool techniques, as most people do. And then afterwards, he said, I've competed at a lot of different levels, including at the UFC. Do any of you competitors have any questions for me on how to prepare for competition? And people started asking questions. Then he paused the group and he said, just out of curiosity, who here hasn't competed before? And I'm the only hand that goes up.
Oh, no.
And he like walks over in front of me and goes, what's going on with you, dude? And Anthony's not the biggest guy in the world, but man, has he got a lot of like forward drive. And you can just feel his like aggression. He's built to drive for sure. And I actually thought that I gave him the best answer ever. I'm a hobbyist. I show up 3 times a week. I want to be a great training partner for my teammates here. And if they're training for a competition, I will help them any way that I can to get ready for that competition. I'll show up, I'll cheer them on from the sideline, and we're going to win as a team. And he's like, that's bullshit. And in front of the entire group, he totally dresses me down, reads me the riot act. And he's like, blah, 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 you got to, you're not challenging yourself, get out of your own head, blah, 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 blah. And I went home and I was kind of fucking pissed off at this guy. Like, how dare this guy, dude? I'm older than him. Like, show some respect for your elders, and in front of all my teammates too. Yeah. And then like the sobriety of like what he said really sat in, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sort of resigning myself to mediocrity, and I'm not going to have another window to be that guy if I ever wanted to even see if that guy exists. I at least have to give myself a chance to see if that person's in there somewhere, right? And so I came back to the gym and I was training, and Mike Courier, my coach, he pulled me aside and he's like, dude, I really think that you should compete. And I'm like, I've been thinking about it, man. And he said, I think you could win worlds. I go, one step at a time. And so I started mentally preparing for this idea. And I said, I'll do one tournament. I went and did a Grappling Industries. And like you said earlier, I got kicked down into the junior bracket. So I'm fighting all these young kids who are all hopped up on piss and vinegar and stuff like that. And I look like their dad. I could have been their dad. And in some cases, I'm, 20 plus years older than these guys. And so I absolutely fucking wrecked that division. Nice. Wow. All 5. The first
5 matches, your first competition.
And won them all.
Nice.
Decisively.
Ooh.
Nobody scored a point on me. I scored a grand total, I think it was like 46 points for the entire bracket.
What a beast. Let's go.
No submissions. I clearly had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, just climbing all over them, just collecting points.
Nice.
And Mike told me, just be positionally dominant. Don't do anything to put you into any sort of danger. And let's just win.
Yeah. And went out and did exactly that.
And I did that. And I kind of surprised myself. I didn't think that would be the outcome, honestly. And I started to think, why did I feel like the outcome would be different? I don't know.
Yeah, why?
So I decided to really put more emphasis on the mental game. So I wrote this. And for the last 2.5 years, I read this every single night before I go to bed.
Wow.
I am the god of war, the breaker of wills, the chooser of fates, the one who wins with unmatchable speed, volcanic force, and unrelenting pressure. In me, there are no excuses, only unwavering focus. This is my destiny, which cannot be denied. In me, there is no mercy. I suffer all things in trying to grow daily. All flee in the face of my fury, and I stand alone atop the tallest peak with the world championship crown in hand.
Let's go.
Let's go.
And what a beast.
I was watching a lot of Game of Thrones at the time.
Okay.
And I wanted to be the breaker of will.
Nice.
The chooser of fates. And so I just say that every single night. And when I'm on the edge of the mat before I compete, I am the god of war. I'm the breaker of will, the chooser of fates. I'm the god of war, the breaker of will, the chooser of fates. And before I step on the mat, that's all that I'm monitoring. Just that over and over and over and over. I'm going to dictate the pace. I'm going to dictate the outcome. Let's go. And so it's really helped me, just that positive affirmation every single day. So when the tournament gets close and I see that, oh my God, this guy's a former world champion, or this person won PANS, or this person did this or that, I don't give a fuck. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. Well, good for you, man. And now you're a Masters World Champion, one of the most prestigious tournaments you can possibly win.
Yeah.
So absolutely incredible.
When you get promoted, sometimes you have that like sense of, did I deserve this? Am I really that thing, that imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
I'm still lingering with a little bit of that. You go back to the gym or you sign up for another competition, you're like, if I get beat, does this mean I'm not really a world champion?
Yeah.
And now you're dreading that thing. So more self-talk, more
Yeah.
self-talk, more self-talk to overcome those things. It was definitely earned, and it was a very lot of solitude in that journey. Nobody really appreciates all the magic jujitsu that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The stretching in the morning, the mental drilling, the researching your opponents, the going to the gym and working out in the evening time after jiu-jitsu's done, all of those things, the diet, the planning, the spreadsheets, all the things that I embarked in. And so you get to that point and people just go, world champion. I am all those things that I built previously.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Right?
all the habits that you implemented that led to that.
Yeah.
And you said something that I related to, but it's actually an opposite approach between you and how you and I approach competition. You said something to the effect of, this guy's a world champion, but I don't give a fuck. So when I prepare for a competition, I don't look at anyone in my division, because often, especially with the big competitions, like for ADCC East Coast Trials, I was planning to sign up 2 months before it fills up at 256 competitors. So just an absolute, just crazy amount of people, and, legit guys in there all throughout. Some of the people probably shouldn't be there, but legit guys primarily throughout. I take the approach of, I'm not going to look at a single person. I don't even look at my first match until day of. And because I take the mindset of, put whoever in front of me, I'm going to do my absolute best jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't really care who it is. I've got a game plan for any type of style. So that's sort of what I think. And typically, like their Instagram, it may not even be their style of jiu-jitsu. Typically it's a highlight reel, and people hit things that isn't even their go-to moves. Like my boy Coulter put on a Choi bar clinic at this last tournament, and that's not even a go-to move for him. It's something that he does occasionally, but it's not something that is like his primary move. But he submitted all 3 guys that he went against with a Choi bar. So just because that's on their Instagram doesn't think that maybe that's not their A game. You take an opposite approach, where you told me you have a spreadsheet on different people, and you maintain an Excel. What is it exactly?
It's obsessive compulsive, certainly.
It's a mental disorder.
Yeah.
So.
I had a grandfather who was an alcoholic and a grandmother who was an alcoholic. And I think that addictive personalities run in the family. And
Yeah.
I think if this is the worst thing that I do with that addictive personality, then good.
Yeah, not so bad. Yeah.
Not so bad. So yeah, I mean, I have a spreadsheet as well as a folder of web links to people's YouTubes and flow grapplings and all of those sorts of things. So I'll research everybody in my bracket. And I mean, when I say research, one of the things that I have done in previous lives, I've been an attorney, so heavy research, as well as a recruiter, heavy research. And so I'll use a whole bunch of these tools that I'm familiar with to just dig into their lives, figure out what their family's like, or do they have a boundary dispute with their neighbor over a crab apple tree that's extending into the yard, you name it. Anything that I can potentially leverage to my advantage, the better. I look at guys who have like 8 kids and I'm like, that guy's not in the gym every day.
Yeah.
This guy's not running with me because I'm in the gym every single day. You got 8 kids, you're not.
No way.
So you don't know how that information could potentially be useful, right? And so for me, I get a lot of, I don't think that there's any harm in going one way or the other. We actually talked a little bit about it in Chicago when we were at ADCC. Whether you decide to go in self-confident and playing your best jiu-jitsu and not worrying about what that person brings to the table, because past behavior does not necessarily predict future behavior.
Sure, yeah.
Not everybody's going to Choi bar you every single submission.
Yeah.
Equally, I'm looking to try to understand their game holistically. For example, at Worlds, I had researched Alan Bolin almost 2 years in advance. I had predicted that he was probably going to be one of the people who makes it into the finals in 2022. And what do you know? He won the whole thing. And the reason for it is I look at his life, and he's a get after it kind of guy. He is a young professional in his 40s and started a large business that has hundreds of employees. And I think that he's independently wealthy. He's also an Instagram influencer in the hunting world. He's got, 100,000 followers. And he has seminars on how to hike all day and not get tired and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And so he's got a wrestling background. He's been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time. So I was thinking to myself, he's going to have good endurance. Okay. He's probably going to be top heavy, wrestly in nature. Probably not going to have a super strong leg game is my guess.
Yeah.
Because a lot of wrestlers don't. Probably has strong grips. A lot of wrestlers do. And so I'm just not necessarily focused on one specific move that he's going to try to pull. I'm just trying to predict what his game is going to feel like. And then I'm going to try to figure out what my A game versus that looks like. And then what my backup plan when that A game fails is, right? And then there's obviously going to be some unscripted jiu-jitsu that takes place somewhere in there. But having some sort of a plan helps me feel really good going into a tournament. Like, I've done everything that I can do. I've controlled what I can control. At this point in time, the game is just going to play out how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because in that finals match, 2023 Worlds in Las Vegas, I made it to the final, and I'm facing Alan Bolin, the defending world champion. And I was thinking to myself, I've been following you for 2 years. You haven't followed me for 1 minute. I'm the number 9 seed. You're the number 1 seed. And I'm going to use everything that I've gained, and I'm going to win this match because I'm the god of war.
Let's go.
Let's go. And so my strategy at Worlds was not to be flashy, not to be Instagrammy, to be very fundamental jiu-jitsu, win with top side pressure, get my takedown, get my guard pass, get to side control, get my knee on belly, get to mount, take the back, and choke. And along the way, I'm going to pick up all my IBJJF points.
Yeah.
And if something goes wrong on the back and they escape, that's fine because I'm up on a lot of points. It's a plan. Doesn't always play out that way, right?
And with a heavy wrestler, was that the plan still?
That was still the plan. I actually got on his back twice through various scrambles. My defensive wrestling is good. My wrestling is shit. So I was planning on stuffing, guillotining, circling, that kind of stuff versus going for a takedown.
Okay.
I'm also a little bit deaf, and that goes back to like high school, listening to music too loud and rocking out really hard and stuff.
Yeah.
So when we bump fists, I circle the mat, but I'm spiraling toward my coach in the corner so that I can definitely hear my coach. And he tried to like lure me back out and get me stepping forward. I just stood up and I'm like, this is where we're going to fight. It's going to be in this corner over here so I can hear.
Nice.
And he shot in, and I just knew that he was going to get anxious, and he was waiting for me to make a mistake, but I was wanting him to go first.
Yeah.
And so got on the back. He scrambled, we rolled, uncurled ourselves, and re-stood back up. Did not.
Okay. Huh.
But it was close.
Okay.
It was really, really close.
Advantage?
Advantage. And so ultimately what winds up happening is we're going through this dance of trying to get each other to the ground, finally do, and there's sort of a scurry for top position, and he gets it. And so he's trying for like a Toriano style pass. And at this point in time, there's like a minute and some change left in the match. And it was very close on advantages at this point and points. So I felt like the chances of me wrestling up against him was very low. The good news is, while on top points game was my strategy, it's actually my second best game. My best game is actually playing off my back in the legs. So I thought it was really appropriate that in the final match, I was going to play the world champion, his best game, which is topside wrestling pressure, versus my best game off of my back in the legs. IBJJF rule set sucks. Can we agree?
Yeah. Especially for masters too. Like even in the Nogi, which they've recently allowed heel hooks. They're like, well, old guys can't handle heel hooks.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
It's total bullshit.
Yeah.
Like you can't even toe hold,
which is
as
crazy.
a purple belt.
That's crazy.
No knee bar,
but
no
you
nothing.
can estima lock as a white belt, which is essentially a toe hold.
You tell me what's going on there.
And also, too, an estima lock is like with no warning. Usually, you just have to grab it and send it.
Yep.
A toe hold is much more controlled, and typically you
a lot
have to
of advance notice.
Yeah, a lot of advance notice, and typically you have to really have a huge ego to get hurt by a toe hold because it's just it doesn't come on quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, he was really aggressively trying to pass. I was keeping my knees tight to the chest and doing a lot of leg pummeling to keep him in front of me. Wound up getting underneath and grabbing his far leg and elevated on a single X, got him to go up in the air, back onto his butt, and then I rolled belly down into a straight ankle lock, and he tapped.
Let's go.
Let's
nice.
go. From the bottom,
Yeah.
straight ankle lock,
wow.
in the
Incredible.
legs.
Finished submission.
Finished, yeah.
Finished the world champion or former world champion via submission in the finals. Incredible.
It's like a Rudy moment.
Yeah.
It really is, you know.
It is. You got to call Anthony and give him a thank you.
I totally do. Yeah. I mean, if he hadn't, taken me behind the woodshed and given me that talk, I would.
Who knows? Maybe you'd have just continued.
I'd be a great hobbyist and a helper of the people on my team.
Wow.
But I needed to give myself a chance.
And now you're still that. That's the thing. You're still a great helper, but now you're, leading from the front, not leading from.
I actually own the gym now.
Yeah, I heard that.
Which
Incredible.
is kind of weird.
That's pretty cool. So you're now.
Can we take a bathroom break and I'll tell you the story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Well, yeah, we'll go.
It's a lot of coffee going on
the
here.
coffee goes through it, sure.
Right.
Oh gosh, I just realized I should have wiped this thing down. Didn't really notice without the angle. Yeah, with the as you called it, the Sake Bomb podcast that got a little messy. Yeah. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for waiting.
What kind of bull crap was I spewing? Where were we?
So just finished the world champion story, becoming world champion, Masters Worlds. Incredible. So you, so obviously with that guy, sort of strategically, you were able to like implement a good strategy that ended up being effective. You told me another story where the whole spreadsheet came in handy with, I guess like someone with like something going on in Tucson or something.
Oh my God, yeah. There's actually a couple of those stories, but probably one of the better ones. I won't name his full name, but there's a fellow named Noah out of Tucson.
Okay.
And I think it was Masters Cup AZBJJL last year or something like that.
Okay.
And I had researched him, and immediately my just basic Google search popped up 1 trillion links to this guy.
Okay, wow.
And apparently he's a contractor and had quite a few different run-ins with homeowners associations in the city over violations of this and that. And he had a couple of active lawsuits going on in the moment.
Wow.
And so maybe Jiu Jitsu is his escape from the courtroom. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it was just such low-hanging fruit. There's no way I'm not going to say something, right? So we get into a little bit of a sort of a judo takedown type of a position, and I'm tucked in on the collar, and I flip him over, and I actually land into almost a full mount position from this judo throw, and my head tucks in right beside his ear as I've got my hand in his cross collar, and I'm like fishing around for the loop around the other side. And I go, "Hey, how's that lawsuit in Tucson going? You guys get that all cleared up or what?" And I immediately felt his shoulders loosened, and like he sort of stared off into space.
Who the hell is this guy?
He's like, "What?
How does he know?
Immediate choke. Tap,
Oh wow!
Done.
Oh, you got the choke right after that. Oh
And
wow!
He gets up, and he was like, the ref is like raising our hands and stuff, and he's like, "Huh, what just happened there?" He's like totally mystified. He's like,
Did you talk to him afterwards?
"Yeah, he's a nice guy and stuff like that." But this is a game we're playing.
Yeah,
and I think
for sure.
you bring all of your skills and all of your wits to the table, and it was just right there for the taking.
Nice. That's pretty good. That's some like mental warfare, like UFC type thing. That's some stuff that like Muhammad Ali or Conor McGregor would implement.
It's I have, like I said, I have so much respect for anybody that'll step on the mat. I would say that everybody that I bumped fist with in a competition were like sort of like that summer camp. I'll write you, at the end of summer camp.
Yeah.
Buddies with all of those people. So even folks like Noah. But I have a lot of those conversations. I'm probably most hated at my gym for talking during rolls.
Okay.
But it's not like, "Hey, you should do this," like a white belt's coaching another white belt kind of a thing. It's more like, "Hey, what do you think would happen if like you ran a semi into I don't know, an airplane? Who wins in that scenario?" They're like, "What are you talking about, dude?" I've just got,
what are you talking about? Neck.
yes, I've got big mouth syndrome for sure. Which is maybe why I went to law school, or I don't know.
Oh, you mentioned that. So what was that? Because you're not a lawyer now, are you?
So I don't practice.
Yeah.
I did pass the bar in Michigan and practiced for a little while.
Was that the initial intention with like what you want to do with your life?
Yep.
Is become a lawyer?
Yep.
And what kind of law did you get into?
General practice. But I realized early on that that wasn't going to be a good choice for me.
And for what reason?
I wanted to specialize. After you do it for a little while and somebody comes in and says, hey, would you work on my will? Hey, would you get me out of this parking ticket? Hey, would you?
Yeah.
And you're like, I need to focus here. Equally, I want money from people who can pay me money. I don't want to repossess your boat, those sorts of things, right? So I decided to go into corporate tax and uprooted my life from Michigan to Washington State to go to the University of Washington. They've got a good tax law program, postdoctorate degree there. And I was a monk at the time, totally sober.
Wait, an actual monk?
No.
Because we know a guy who is a monk.
A guy monk. I know a couple of monks too. No, I was girlfriend free. I didn't have any financial obligations. I mean, I was totally untethered. And I was just going to focus on school. I was going to hammer it out as quickly as possible, go back, make my millions, and, you know, I don't know, maybe they'll write a book about me or something. And I didn't know the area very well. And this is pre-Google Maps and stuff. So you actually had to like print out maps so you know where you were going. It was Baskin-Robbins free ice cream day.
Okay.
And so I mapped out all of the Seattle Baskin-Robbins locations.
Went to all of them?
I was like, I'm going to learn the neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh,
and so
nice.
I rode around on my motorcycle and hit all the 31 flavors. And the last one that I showed up in, there was 2 other guys on motorcycles there in line in front of me. And so we started talking motorcycles and stuff. And just to backtrack for a second, you had talked about in a couple of your previous podcasts, like, do you believe in the concept of manifest destiny, put it out into the universe and the universe will conspire to make it happen kind of a thing?
Like my sponsors.
I fully believe in that. That's why Whoop is a sponsor here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I believe in that. And
yeah.
earlier that day, I had said, I would really like to get in with a cool community of people who were like-minded, that enjoyed doing stuff like camping and rock climbing and are just cool, want to ride motorcycles, you know, just that kind of stuff. And while I was in college and law school, I was a competitive rock climber. Climbed all over the country, competing in tournaments and stuff like that. And I would say that I was like a purple belt level rock climber. Good, but not great.
Which, quick side note, have you seen The Alpinist?
No.
Oh, you really? You got to check out that movie.
Yeah?
Incredible. Yeah, like maybe the best rock climber ever. Like would just free climb mountains. And
Alex Honnold?
No, his name was Mark Leclerc.
Okay.
He actually died, but
Most of them do.
Yeah, well, yeah, and this one was actually an avalanche. He would free climb, you know, anything. Which and I don't know all the terms, but he would just walk up to a mountain and just go straight up. But you got to check out that movie.
I will absolutely
Yeah, it's a
do that.
documentary. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah, okay.
So that day, I'm on my motorcycle hitting the 31 flavors, and I get in line, and these guys were talking motorcycles. Oh, you've got a this, I've got a that. Oh, how do you like it? It's awesome. And so we're eating our ice cream. They go, hey, a group of us are going to go rock climbing at Merrimore Park tomorrow. Do you want to go? I was like, yes. They go, have you ever rock climbed before? I go,
yes.
yes. And so I show up, we rock climb, and then later that afternoon, we go over to the guy's apartment, and there's a couple girls sitting in the hot tub, and one of them is just drop dead gorgeous, super cute, and I'm kind of buffing up just a little bit in the hot tub, looking good. And I strike up a conversation with her, and things are going pretty good, and the guys say, hey, let's jump on our motorcycles and just go for a little ride with the girls. And so that girl goes, I want to be on that guy's bike. And so she jumped on the back of my motorcycle. And as we're going down the highway, we see 2 cop cars with their lights on going that way. And then at some point, we lost our friend Evan. I don't know if he had a motorcycle problem or whatever. So we look behind us and he's not there anymore. So we get off on the overpass, go back the opposite direction on the freeway. 2 cops are going up the freeway. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
I think those cops are after us.
Yeah.
Because we've been,
Yeah.
we were like 4 miles an hour over.
Okay, yeah. I owned a motorcycle. I know how it goes.
Yeah. Maybe 5.
Yeah.
And
or maybe entering the freeway at 120.
Or that. So we loop back around to find Evan. We found him, and sure enough, the cops are going the other way down the highway. I'm like, we are officially in a police chase. So I pulled off at the next exit, and we parked our bikes behind a Denny's, and I took my girl in, and bought her Denny's because I'm a big spender. first dates, and had the waitress take a picture of us because I was just really smitten by this girl. And 20-something years later, I'm married to her.
Wow, how cool!
And so,
first date, you went on a police chase.
First date, police chase, and it was that manifest destiny thing. I sort of spoke it into existence, and there it was. And so, my wife is a West Coast gal. All of her family's out there, and I said, "Any interest in going back to Michigan?" She's like, "Not even, not even." So, I, for love, decided not to go through with the whole school thing and abandoned my law career.
Wow.
And went to work at Home Depot. And I was the guy in the aisle going, "Hey, would you like somebody to come out and check out your furnace?"
Wow. With a
doctorate degree.
Yeah, with a doctorate degree in law.
And, but I needed to reinvent myself. I wasn't licensed to practice in Washington, wanted to figure out this relationship, should probably make some money while I'm doing that. And so I just took a sales job and did pretty well at it.
Selling what?
Heating and air conditioning systems out of Home Depot.
Wow.
Horrible job. Crawl spaces, attics.
Gosh.
Ugh, just the worst. But made a lot of money.
Yeah, a little control over your own income.
A little bit of control over my own income. And was making 6 figures doing that job. But there was no headroom. So I got approached by a recruiter who said, "Hey, would you be interested in a job at T-Mobile?" And I'm like, "I'm not working at any more malls or Home Depots. I want to get a a career job." No, it's not like that. It's working business to business. And I go, "All right, tell me more." Well, fast forward, I'm working at T-Mobile, selling small business deals to contractors and stuff, hooking them up with cell phones. This is pre-iPhone. And did, I guess, well enough that they promoted me up to senior salesperson, and then started working bigger deals, and then up into the enterprise level. I sold deals to Microsoft and some other really big global type companies.
Wow.
And multi-million-dollar Internet of Things, redundancy, failover type stuff. So it started to get pretty technical. I'd go out with my sales engineer and stuff. And I actually did well enough in that job. I was the #1 salesperson at T-Mobile in 2008. And it's kind of a big deal because they've got 20,000 salespeople between retail and business to business.
Wow, that's incredible.
And so I over-indexed, apparently, and they sent me off to Hawaii and all kinds of stuff. And then somebody pulled me aside and said, "Hey, we want to promote you to leadership." So took a leadership job in Los Angeles, and then ever expanding levels of leadership until I became a director, and I was managing everything from essentially El Paso, Texas to the Pacific Ocean for T-Mobile's business channel that included small business, mid-market, enterprise, K through 12, strategic accounts. So found myself in a lot of cool business deals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they promoted me to customer, and here I am.
Wow, a promoted customer, so you got fired. Oh, and so this was
laid off with 3,000 other people.
Yeah, because you said 2008 was the time, so right before the recession.
Yeah, after the big crash of Ruski. So, well, it was 2016 that I left T-Mobile.
Oh, okay.
So I was there for about a decade.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Good company. I have no axe to grind with them, although this is a little bit shady.
Yeah.
And I think that most companies are probably shady deep down inside. They lay off 3,000 people, and 2,950 of those people are all telesales representatives, very entry-level positions. And the very next day, instead of telesales reps, they open up a requisition for almost 2,950 customer experience phone sales people. It's not the same job, but it's the same job.
Yeah, okay.
And what they didn't open back up is a whole bunch of you are older and cost a lot of money, senior director and vice president roles at T-Mobile.
Gotcha.
So they basically laid off 50 of the older people, but they wanted to be legally defensible. So they laid off a whole bunch of young people, and they go, "No, we didn't. This is not discriminatory. It was a whole swath of people."
Interesting. And so you think that was the move, was that they had all these high income people that they wanted to get rid of. You got rid of them, plus a bunch of replaceable people, and then replace the replaceables.
That's right.
Interesting.
And I had no problem with it. They took really good care of me on the way out. They gave me a year's worth of health benefits. They paid out all of my stock and stuff. They gave me essentially a year's worth of income.
Wow.
So yeah, no hard feelings. But I saw what they did there.
Yeah.
I saw what they did.
Wow. So what did you do after that?
One of my favorite parts of being a salesperson was working with new hires and helping them career path and stuff like that. And I got really good at interviewing because I had lots and lots of people to interview in that role. And so I started a recruiting agency, Sales First Recruiting, out of Scottsdale, Arizona. We had an office in Portland and one in Denver as well. And all we did was recruit salespeople. And I love it. There's nothing better than when somebody is sort of adrift. They're that cork out on the ocean floating around. They're trying to figure out what their next thing is. And I'm like, I've felt that before. I've worked at a Home Depot.
Yeah. And
Well,
so
here's
get
how
into
we get,
sales.
here's
Yeah.
how we get back on track.
Wow.
And so helped a lot of people get into their thing.
Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. Gigi's taking the star of the show.
She's a cutie. I understand.
What a cute little kitty. So, so is that what you currently do?
Nope.
Still? Huh.
I actually sold the company this year so that I could focus on Worlds.
Wow. Really? How
True story.
incredible.
True
Nice.
story.
So now you're just doing this and that?
I bought the gym.
Okay, yeah.
So Mike Courier, who is the person who I originally trained under at Impact Jiu Jitsu Fountain Hills, awesome player. Very weird player in the sense that his background was junior Olympian for gymnastics and professional rollerblader.
Oh, interesting.
And
I didn't
so
know that.
he's a go big kind of a guy, but also super flexible, very agile because of the gymnastics piece, right? And his game is very bendy, very flexy, a lot of Granbies, a lot of playing in the legs kind of stuff. And he was one of those BJ Penn fast trackers, just sort of moved through the belts very quickly. I think he hit black in 7 or something like that, which is a pretty quick
That's
timeline.
very quick, yeah.
And his game is just to be admired, frankly. Well, Mike, even when I first met him, he wanted to be a Parisian,
What does that mean?
live in Paris.
Okay.
He was born in America, but you know everybody's confused about what they are these days.
Yeah.
He was confused about what country he was really from, and he wanted to be over in France. Well, he got looped in with the Globetrotter organization, which is a cool organization. I've gone to a couple of their camps, and I'm going again in November. He got looped in with them, so he's been globetrotting around the world, just experiencing a whole bunch of different cultures, different jiu-jitsu styles, and helping to plant that seed like Johnny Appleseed around the globe. And the time came for him where he felt like he had enough momentum built up and enough credibility overseas that I'm going to make the move. So where did he go? Germany.
Yeah.
I'm like, why Germany? You've always wanted to be in France. And he said, oh, well, this one worked out for this reason or this reason. I said, I understand what's going on. You were one of those people that during World War I and World War II just sort of assumed that France was yours anyway. So
Yeah, exactly.
you'll have it again. Trust me, you'll get another crack at it.
Yeah, sure.
So with that being said, he approached me and said, hey, Patrick, I want to make sure the gym lands in good hands and I trust you. You've got a business mind. Your jiu-jitsu sucks, but that we can improve upon that. And so there was 2 other current owners, 33%, TJ and Steve. Shout out to those guys too, that were interested in partnering with me as well. I actually brought in 2 of my other friends from the gym. So now basically all of our purple belts own part of the gym. And so it's sort of a scary place, but fun place to be at the same time because purple belts know just enough to be semi-effective, but not really polished, right?
But now you can like legally skip warm-ups every time.
That's right. I joke with my wife that the reason I'm buying into the gym is so that I don't get kicked out of the gym because I'm always talking while I'm rolling. So
yeah, there you go.
I've reserved my position. So yeah,
Nice.
I own a gym now.
Wow.
I will probably work again. I don't know what that's going to look like exactly, but I think probably something that's a bit of a passion project. I've been fortunate enough to not have to like scratch to get by, which is good.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, it'll be some sort of consultative, helping people scale and grow kind of a job. But I don't want to be just selling some software security solution. I want it to be something that moves the needle for the world or for people groups of some sort.
Yeah, you have the actual interest in, not just because I got to make money somehow, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Interesting. So as far as the gym, it's an interesting setup because now you're one of 6 owners. 5 owners.
Yep.
Well, it's a big contrast to how my gym is run and how most that I see where there's one leader and that's, you know, everything falls and grows upon him. And so what's it like I know it's just recent, but how does that even operate with 5 guys? Do you have who's the head coach now? Because if you guys are all purple belts or below, is it 5 purple belts?
Yeah, it's 5 purple belts. Our gym is a weird gym too, because it was a brand new gym in 2018, and there was no prior jiu-jitsu in Fountain Hills. We all started as white belts, and so we've sort of grown up together.
Yeah.
We're at a weird point where the majority of the class is, as usual, white belts, and then a decent group of blues, and then you have a smaller group of purples, and then usually have, a handful of browns, and then maybe a black. Well, through Mike's connections at Globetrotters, he attracted several black belts. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 current black belts. We have no browns. We have 5, 6, 7 purples. So we have this like Marianas Trench of lacking browns at our gym. So it's a weird place. So we're still, I don't know that we want to have a head coach. And maybe that's the wrong choice, but we sort of feel like instead we're going to reinvent jiu-jitsu like this. All of our black belts are super capable, and any one of them on their own could stand on their 2 feet and be a head coach at any gym. And so trying to pick amongst your children, like which one's your favorite, is a super hard thing to do, and you're naturally going to alienate somebody.
Yeah, well, and also too, I'm sure these 4 people have jobs, right?
They do.
Yeah, it's not like typically how a gym starts is this is my career path. This is what I want to do with my life is teach jiu-jitsu. So just because they're a black belt doesn't mean that's what they want to do with all their free time.
That's right. So what we want to do is create a better experience for our members, but also acknowledge the path that our black belts have gone down and why we should train with them. So here's what that kind of looks like. This is an evolving conversation. We might sit down a month from now and it's a totally different scenario. But the way I'm envisioning it is each black belt is responsible for their piece of the calendar. And it's their class, it's their techniques, it's their instruction. And they will be the head instructor of their portion of jiu-jitsu that they teach. And what we're going to do is we're going to develop the younger players into coaches. We're training our trainers, essentially. So we'll take one of our senior blue belts who's on the cusp of maybe becoming purple, and they will be the junior instructor to our primary instructor. So they will be a lead coach because they have a helper in their class. And how that will benefit the membership is when you're brand new to jiu-jitsu and you show up on day 1 and you don't even tie your belt correctly, a lot of people will teach a technique. Today we're doing mantis guard to kiss the dragon or something weird like that, right?
Yeah.
And that new white belt's like, I don't even know what's going on or when you would even use this. And then the gym says, after that instruction, now roll. And this person's like, don't know what to do, and they're flopping everywhere, and it's not the best experience.
Yeah.
Does that person come back? A lot of times they don't. And so a lot of times that person will also slow down the class. The head instructor has 20 students who are all trying to learn, and then you got 2 or 3 students that can't learn. They're just not at that point. So the coach winds up splitting time between those 2 groups, and unfortunately it's an uneven split.
Yeah.
Well, this junior instructor is going to be responsible for helping to onboard and facilitate that
New white
instruction.
belts.
So they will teach to the need of that white belt. Here's what we might need to do is let's turn your body a little bit here. That way the coach can focus on the players that could really benefit from it. So we don't slow down our maturing members, and we have a more positive experience for that person. So they get what they get. And then in an effort to avoid injuries and control spazzy white belts, especially that, that kid who's just ready to get after it.
Yeah.
The more experienced blue belt will say, let's slow down a little bit. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to work on me putting you into guard, you getting out of guard, and getting to the side. Don't worry about the actual technique.
Yeah.
Let's just work on that flow. You don't have to worry about trying to yank on my arm because you don't know how to do that anyway.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep our bottom players safe, the coaches or students, and the new white belts having a more positive experience where they can feel some success early. And at the same time, we're giving some hierarchy to our classes where there's clearly a senior member and then there's a more junior member who's being developed. So I don't know if that's the right approach, but that's the approach we're going with.
Wow. It seems like a solid approach. I know as gyms get more advanced, that is one of the big challenges is like, how do you teach a class that is something that the new people can learn because, advanced techniques, it's just pointless really going through the Kiss of the Dragon to, you know, an Imanari roll or whatever, whatever it is, so, while also still giving attention to the guys who have been there for a long time and do need to learn and grow in more advanced ways. And so a lot of places do it with like, you know, white belt only classes. And so you can just stay to very basic movements, but it seems like a solid split. I like how, you know, it seems like a good idea. I like it.
Thanks. I think that, you know, in a different world, if we had a lot of members, then we could split it into a fundamentals class and an advanced class. But Fountain Hills is a small community to begin with.
Sure.
And we're not blessed with hundreds of members and a full mat of 50 every single night.
Yeah.
So we're going to have one evening class, and it's going to be an everybody type of a class. So
and that's just how it has to go. Yeah.
just working with what we got.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even like my gym, you know, I think Issa started in 2016. We're still at the point where I don't think there could be enough room yet for a completely fundamentals class.
Okay.
So he's been doing it for 7 years now, and it's still not, I mean, maybe we're close to that where there's a significant amount of white belts, but also too, you run the issue of like what time is best for everyone. Either you make the more advanced guys train too late in the day, or you do the class that starts at, you know, 4 o'clock, and it's like maybe most people get off at 5, can't make that.
Yep.
So yeah.
It's a hard thing because there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And you have to cater to the biggest audience because that's how you stay in business.
Yeah, exactly. Which typically it's your white belts.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a fun journey being a gym owner. I think eventually what I want to do is sort of merge into the woodwork a little bit and let the gym go on its own path and create their own leadership structures and stuff. But for the time being, I want to make sure that people feel embraced, that more things are going to stay the same than are going to change without Mike there.
Yeah.
Awesome community, good jiu-jitsu, reasonable prices, accessibility, all those sorts of things are still going to be there, but we're going to improve some things for everybody's benefit. And a lot of it's going to be transparent. You're just not going to feel it or see it directly, such as better internal communication. So instead of a text message going out like, coach is sick, so-and-so is going to take over, instead there will be a better communication path, integrated billing, online videos, and better website, and all the cool things that make a gym a gym.
Nice. Well, that's cool.
Speaking of websites, are you familiar with, what is it? Combat Club in Cottonwood?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, is it like Maynard's gym?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's the other gym. There's sort of two big gyms in the area.
Okay.
Those guys compete a lot, and so I always see them at like the grappling industries and stuff like that, and they're savages, total savages.
Nice.
And so when we were taking over the gym and we were thinking about things to do with our website, I actually visited all of the best gyms in America, like Henzo's and B Team and New Wave's website.
See what their website looks
See
like.
what their website looks like, right? And then I looked at pretty much every local gym. Like, what are they offering from a local flavor? And I came across Combat Club Cottonwood, and their website is super vanilla. It's like a couple pictures of people doing jiu-jitsu, and then there's an FAQ, and it's 3 things, and it's like, you know, can anybody do jiu-jitsu? Yes. And then you go to the next one, and it's like, what if I have a kid? Bring him to class with you. And then the third one is jiu-jitsu hard? And you click on the drop down and it goes, very. That's their whole website. And then some times.
Nice.
And that's it. And I'm like, maybe that's what we need to do is just keep it simple.
Nice. Huh.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm really going off script at this point.
No, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So why Fountain Hills in the first place? Obviously the gym now and everything that you've established there now, but why'd you move there in the first place?
I was living in LA and hated it. There was cool things like,
what year was this?
Basically from 2009 through 16 when T-Mobile got rid of me.
Gotcha.
Moved out to Scottsdale, and it was some things were good about LA. Driving, I lived on Pacific Coast and Huntington Beach, and you'd look out your front door and there's the ocean.
Incredible.
And you'd pull in there. I had a convertible Viper at the time, and just you're driving down and just the
Beautiful
sun's
air.
hitting you and stuff like that. And you'd pull into your driveway and you'd put on your flip flops. You could walk across the street and be in the sand. It was just
That's so cool.
awesome.
All of those things you said, people give up so much for,
Oh, boy.
just that. Yeah. You give up the highest taxes in the country. You give up, especially now, an extremely, borderline dangerous homeless problem,
Big time.
and a bunch of other things, a difficult business environment, all sorts of stuff.
It's sad. And everything's a line. Everything's a wait.
Yeah, traffic for hours, any time of the day.
Your friends will call you, hey, we're going to meet downtown and have dinner. And you're looking at traffic. You're like, it's going to be 50 minutes just to get down there. And I'm only 8 miles.
That's crazy.
Pass.
Yeah. And that's like any time of the day, too. It's not like there's a rush hour. It's
all
like
day long.
All day is rush hour.
So one of the areas that I was managing was the Arizona market. And I'd fly in at least once a month to check it out. And I always loved it. So I said, let's just go to Scottsdale. Let's get a place, figure out where we belong, and then we'll buy a home. And so that's what we did. Moved to Scottsdale, checked it out. And I'm a big dirt biker, off-roader, camper, outdoorsy kind of guy, as we kind of alluded to earlier. And I was out riding my dirt bike through the desert, and way off in the distance, I see a fire. I'm like, oh, there's some... No, that's not smoke. What is that? I don't even know what that is.
The fountain.
And it was the fountain in Fountain Hills, but I was so far away. I was trying... Because it didn't register that could be a fountain. It's way too big.
Yeah.
And on my way out of the desert, I'm getting closer to this fountain. I'm like, I think it's water. And it's still not registering. It just can't be.
What the hell?
For anybody who's listening that's not familiar with Fountain Hills is named so because we have a gigantic fountain in the middle of Fountain Hills.
Yeah.
And back in the 70s was the world's largest freestanding fountain. So if you've ever been to like the Bellagio and they've got their fountains, dwarfs them.
Yeah.
Dwarfs.
And so what's the height now? I know that I think it used to go up to like 440 feet, or it's currently 440. It used to be higher, and then neighbors started complaining, and so they temper it back a little bit, but it still gets
They
real
will
up
actually,
there.
it's interesting. I think that somebody back there gets a little nip of whiskey or something like that and turns up the heat, because some days it's significantly higher than others.
Really?
So I don't know what the supposed to be height is, but I think that it can get quite a bit higher than what you normally see it. But 400 feet in the air is still a long way in the air for a water
Yeah,
jet.
for sure. Especially 15 minutes consecutively.
Yes.
Yeah, every hour on the hour, it goes up for 15 minutes straight, which is pretty cool.
That's our claim to fame.
That's pretty cool. And then I think on July 4th, it was like an hour straight before. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So I got into town and I looked around. I'm like, this is a sweet place. Took my wife out there and she's like, let's get a place here. Nice. It was a really easy decision.
Wow. Huh.
And Fountain Hills is sort of that offshoot satellite community. You're close to Scottsdale, but you're not in Scottsdale. The mountain range kind of separates the two of you.
Yeah.
And then everything north of Fountain Hills is desert. And so there's never going to be a community further north because it's national forest or Indian land.
That's very cool. And it's really cool, the topography of the area. It's almost like Cali in a certain way, where it's rolling hills everywhere. So there's probably 800 homes that have an incredible view on the tip of a mountain, or on the edge of a mountain. So
I wanted to live in an area where I could open my garage, ride my dirt bike out the front door, and just disappear into the desert.
Nice.
And so I do that regularly.
Nice.
Actually,
you can leave from your house on your dirt bike?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It's plated.
Wow.
So I have a KTM 500, we have a 140, and I've got a KTM 890 as well. And honestly, that's sort of my
890?
Yeah.
That's a big bike.
It's a big dirt bike.
Wow.
Big knobby tires, and
Wow.
I throw
Four-cylinder or four-stroke rather?
Yes.
Yeah.
I after 2022 I went to Worlds and I got beat first round.
Yeah.
And it was a really close match against the guy who won second overall. And it was 0-0, no advantages, ref's decision.
Gosh.
And I was actually...
Was he Brazilian?
He was.
Oh, well.
I wasn't going to say it. I'm glad you did. But I was actually on top the whole time trying to pass his half and quarter guard, but never made it out. But I felt like I was being the aggressor, and he didn't put any sort of a submission or anything on me that looked like he had like legitimate traction in the match. And so going into it, I looked over and I'm like, I've got like 30 seconds left. I'm just going to stay on top, stay heavy, try to wiggle this leg out, and maybe I get into side control and I'm going to take this win. I actually thought I'd won.
You felt you had the ref's decision for sure.
For sure. I did not.
Oh, gosh.
And I would never let that happen again. And so
You got to just put on the pace no matter what, no matter how you feel. Because if you do feel like there's an edge to you and you put on the pace and really become the aggressor in those last 30 seconds, you just stamp your decision. If it's maybe on the edge, it goes maybe how it went your way or the other way.
It was that was a bummer of a year because I started out with those 5 wins and then competed every single month all the way up to Worlds. I think I did like 12 tournaments that year and I won all of them. I medaled every single tournament, gold or silver. Never took a bronze or anything like that. And so I felt like going into Worlds, I was going to go deep into the bracket and did not. And so I decided to just get on my dirt bike and go. I threw some food, some clothes, a tent, and I just disappeared into the desert and went up to Idaho. And I took the loneliest dirt all the way up there, and then circled the loneliest side of Nevada all the way down, and just spent 11 days camping in the middle of nowhere. Have you ever heard of Jarbridge?
Jarbridge, Arizona?
It's like garbage, but with a J. It's actually in Nevada. It's northern Nevada.
Oh, interesting.
And I targeted that spot because it's actually the loneliest city in the continental United States. The next nearest neighbor is 100 miles away.
Oh, wow.
And so if you're in Jarbidge, yell at the top of your voice, nobody will hear you.
Wow.
And so I just rode up to Twin Falls, Idaho, and then swooped back down through Nevada and just spent time in the desert. And I was really kind of hard on myself. This was not how the year was supposed to go. Everybody's like, you could be world champion and all of these tournaments, like you're winning decisively, blah, blah. And here we are. And I was like, that'll never happen again. I'm never going to let a ref dictate the outcome. And I thought about what Dana White always says on The Ultimate Fighter. He's like, don't leave it up to the ref, And he's right. And I will never leave it up to the ref again. I will work until every ounce of energy is exhausted. And you're going to have to beat me to beat me.
Absolutely. Nice.
So yeah, I get on those dirt bikes and I just go. And I do it probably twice a year where I'll just take a week and a half and just disappear into the desert. And I'd love to gas up in weirdo little towns. And there's all sorts of self-sufficiency that takes place. Like I did the Arizona backcountry discovery route, which starts on the Mexico border. Have you ever been down to Sierra Vista?
I have, near Tucson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to the actual border?
No, I don't think so. Or you mean the southern border?
Yeah.
Yeah, like near Mexico?
Mexico
Well,
border.
I've been to Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been in an area that's not one of the main pass-throughs, one of the main border entries?
No. I've worked on land over there, but I haven't actually driven it.
I think regardless of whatever your political beliefs are, when Trump was trying to build a wall, I was like, we could just start right here because if you can lift your leg more than 20 inches high, you can get across the border.
Okay. Yeah.
There is literally like a beam that's about 24 inches high,
Yeah.
and it's designed to stop vehicles from coming in, but that's it.
Okay. Wow.
And it just stretches into the distance forever and ever.
Interesting.
And so I went all the way down to the border, and I actually jumped across the border. I'm like, now you see me. Now you don't. Now you see me.
Mexico, U.S.
Now
Mexico.
you don't. And there's nobody out there. And then rode north through kind of the globe, Arizona, up past the eastern edge of Flagstaff, all the way into the Grand Canyon.
Wow. What kind of gas tank you got on this bicycle?
It's pretty robust. I can get about 250 miles. I try to go really fast. Like most people will do a full state, like the backcountry discovery route, Arizona, in between 7 and 11 days. Sometimes I just want to go fast, and I'll do it in like 3 days. And so you're putting in hundreds of miles of dirt per day.
Wow.
And it's pretty aggressive.
And you're going through the dirt.
Through dirt.
Wow.
This is not highway, paved.
Yeah. Wow.
I get to a good stopping point for lunch, and it's 112 degrees in the Arizona desert, and there is nobody around for a million years. And I eat, come back to my bike, and it's making kind of like a whistling sound. I'm like, is my battery having a problem or some electrical fire about to start? What's going on? I start digging around, and I go, I think it's coming from the tank. And like an idiot, I open my tank, and boiling gas sprays all over me, hits me in the eyes, in my mouth, and I can't see. And so I'm out in the heat, 112 degrees, scalding gas all over me, can't see. And I'm going to my panniers, unrolling them, digging in, trying to find water and soap so I can wash my face.
Gosh.
And I'm like, well, here's where I die. This is where it happens.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to come by years from now and find a dead body.
Goodness.
So those sorts of memories, I think a lot of times the memories that stick with you are the ones where like, and there I was, shit was going down.
And so what did you do? How'd you get it off your face?
I finally got my bar of soap out, and I was able to get cleaned up enough to where I could see.
Just a bar of soap, no water? Or you had water as well?
Got some water from my Camelback and lathered up, but I reeked of gas, you can imagine.
Oh gosh,
And it started to burn.
Oh,
like
goodness.
my body, because
the actual burn.
The heat and anyway.
Like chemical burn.
Chemical burn. So it's a challenging thing when you're in the middle of the desert. So I'm standing out there completely naked, doing the full bath.
Yeah.
and hopped back on my bike, and I'm like, well, there's one for the record books, and just kept on going.
Wow. Huh.
So it's just those little moments of, I don't know.
Huh. Well, that's sick. That's incredible. That makes sense. I do love dirt biking. We lived in Rio Verde at a time, and that was one of the coolest things. You just hop on the motorcycle and then just get right after it, going into different places.
I think that sometimes you need to disconnect yourself from the digital leash and being able to impact the world around you. Like if somebody says, hey, can you come over? Can you do a thing? Or you see work emails pop up.
Yeah.
It's one less thing that's causing you not to be centered.
Sure.
And even if you try here in your own home to just be centered, you have the opportunity to be involved in the world if you want to.
Yeah.
But when you go out to Freeman, South Dakota, or the middle of the Arizona desert where there's nobody there, you can't influence the world other than your own survival.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like I'm really at one with my thoughts and where I can really start to focus on, where are my areas of opportunities? What are the things that I'm grateful for? And you just have so much more appreciation and so much more determination and like focus and things like that. So
It's really...
that's why Fountain Hills.
Wow. I know. Yeah. That's such a cool thing. Yeah. Well, I mentioned it earlier to you, but Taylor and I went to the edge of the world a few months ago and then just made the commitment then to explore Arizona at least once a month, just go somewhere and connect with nature and just camp somewhere. And so it's been a super cool thing. We've gone to maybe 3 or 4 places so far. And it's something that, I don't know. It's like, maybe it's untethering from, your cell phone and emails and all of that, but, or just maybe the fresh air, being out in nature and just looking at incredible views. There's something like inside of you that just feels so good getting out into those areas. I think it's super important.
Super cool.
Yeah, I think one thing I need to do better about is to try to become more centered when I'm out there, because something that, part of, I'm sure from being in sales, like there's constantly work. People, call you all hours of the day, and I try to be the best that I can. So I answer phone calls at any time of the day, any time of the night, any weekend, answer texts early, reply to emails late, whatever it is. And so it's tough for me to turn that off. And when I go out there, I find myself thinking like, oh, I need to, do this or do that, or I haven't called this person, or it's something that I guess just takes practice. I need to just keep getting out there and keep just trying to be more focused in the moment.
Yeah. I can't say it enough that we talked a little bit about HRV earlier. I can see on Whoop when I'm camping versus not camping.
Oh, really? Huh.
My rested state the next morning, even though sometimes I'm like, I really slept poorly, but my heart was relaxed. And I think that it just comes down to the fact that there's not EMF constantly bombarding you. There's no chance that your phone is going to ring. There's no like Netflix that I have to keep binging.
Yeah.
It's
not even the opportunity for it.
Not even the opportunity.
Yeah, when we go, I actually put my phone on airplane mode.
Love
it. I'm completely away, and then that way I'll just get back to people when I have time. Yeah,
well, we're going to have to go.
I'm out.
We're definitely going to have to go out.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love that. We do for sure. I don't have as sweet of a camping setup as you, but you'll be a utility vehicle for our camp next door.
Well, we can get as primitive as you want. If you want to do, so I used to do feast or famine. So I was a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, and loved to camp. In fact, I loved to camp so much that I took the Wilderness Survival Merit Badge twice. I'd already passed it once. I just wanted to take it again.
Oh, wow.
And so they send you off into the woods with a poncho, a knife, and like a box of matches. And they're like, come back in 3 days.
Oh, really? Wow.
That kind of a thing. So I've always been kind of that sort of guy. And it continued into college where I'd go out with like 3 buddies and you could choose. Like you can bring a shotgun, a 22, or a fishing rod, and you can bring a like waterproof jacket or something like that. I don't remember what all the rules were, but we'd go out for several days and just try to live off the land. Most of the time, you just starve.
Yeah, you don't find anything. You're not a good hunter just because you have a gun.
Yeah, we've had a couple of squirrel meals and stuff. If you've never enjoyed squirrel, it's meh.
Get small little chicken.
You just do what you do.
Yeah.
So we can be as primitive as you want. You don't
Awesome.
have to have an awesome, camper, pop out,
Sure.
hot water heater, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just kind of being out there, which is so cool.
I don't think my wife wants to do feast or famine, so we might not go not quite that primitive.
That's okay, because the last couple times we've taken out good food. What did I take this last time? I actually took French fries, or I took potatoes, and then some ghee butter, and then I've got a a stove that's just basically a hot piece of metal or that's on rods you put over the fire, and then a cast iron plate on that, and did French fries over top of it, along with steak and lamb ribs out there.
Wow.
And so
Some gourmet camping.
oh, it was delicious. Yeah, I mean, I do like to eat good too, so I don't mind doing it like that. But we'll have to for sure.
If we do go camping, can I call you Cookie?
Yeah, you can call me Cookie.
You have a little triangle. Ding, 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 come and get it.
Yeah, I'll cook us French fries too. They were so good. It was such a fun little snack to have out in the middle of nowhere.
So speaking of you guys getting out, Taylor showed me a picture of you guys traversing a gap. I don't know exactly how far down it was, but just some random ladder was out there in the middle of the wilderness, and you decided to go out onto this rock spire by crossing this ladder. What was that all about?
You know, well, so there's this, so it's called the Edge of the World, which if you've never been, it's like location wise, it's right in the middle of Flagstaff and Sedona, but you actually have to go up to Flagstaff first and then take this dirt road about an hour southwest. And essentially what you're doing is driving on the top of this giant mesa. And so you get to the edge, and they call it the edge of the world because you get to the end and it's just a drop off completely. And so location wise, you're in the middle of Flagstaff and Sedona, but elevation wise, you're at the same elevation as Flagstaff, if not higher. So you're overlooking all of Sedona. It's the most beautiful thing. You have the red rocks in the view, this insane drop off, just mountains galore, trees galore. It's just so beautiful. And the way that the location or the directions that we looked up take you, it takes you to this. So there's the drop off, and then there's this giant, like, I don't know, mountain that looks like it popped up right next to the mountain. And so you go down a little bit, and there's this ladder, like a 12-foot ladder that's just
like
there.
a Home Depot ladder.
Yeah, it's meant for passing over things, I think. It's not necessarily like, pull apart the legs. It's just a stable one piece.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just there already. And so we're like, what the heck is this? And so or actually, I think we saw other people on it first. So we're like, oh, that's interesting as we come out. But they were just finishing up. So after we just got up, we set everything up. We go look to see what they were doing down there. And the ladder first helps you down this, like, about a 12-foot drop from this flat rock to this other flat rock. And you get down it. And then you go over to this edge. And there's about, I don't know, probably I don't know how long the distance is at first. Maybe it's a 15-foot ladder.
I was going to say it looks like a long distance.
Yeah, it's probably, close to, I don't know, 5 or 10 yards. And you take the ladder and stick it across, and now it's just a platform for you to get across this giant drop-off.
Yeah,
and
it's not anchored either.
No, it's not. I mean, I just wiggled it as much as I could, just try to give a good a couple shakes, see if it's stable enough. And we just climb across, and hilarious enough, we were doing this, and some other people just happened to see us doing it and started filming us. And so we've got this great commentary of some guy just whip out his phone. Look at these people. They're climbing over this ladder. I don't even think they got any shoes on. He's like, what they're doing over right now, it's about a 500-foot drop. And I'm not sure if it's 500 feet, but it's a you'll die distance if you fall. And so we get across, we get some super cool pictures, and yeah, that's how we started off the whole camping trip. It was such a fun time.
I love the fact that guy gave you the video too. Yeah. Like, you were so dumb that I'm going to wait around to give you the video.
Well, we saw them because once we were down there, we saw this guy with the camera looking down at us. I told her, I'm like, we got to go talk to them afterwards.
That's right.
They've got some footage. We need it.
Is he shaking his head the whole time?
Yeah.
Like, here you go, son.
They were funny. They thought it was cool what we were doing.
You should have called your podcast the Darwin Award or something.
Yeah,
you clearly haven't broken enough bones in your body.
Yeah, I've just only fingers actually is what I've broken.
Really?
Yeah.
How many?
I think I've broken both my thumbs and like little knuckles. Like this, I may have broken this knuckle at the ADCC Arizona. It still hasn't healed, but now I just tape stuff together. That's basically what I do.
27.
27 bones you've broken? Mm-hmm. Wow. And so you were like raced motorcycles at one point. Is that how you did most of that?
A lot of them.
Okay.
So just like rock climbing, I was like a purple belt motorcycle racer.
Okay, nice.
I was better than most, but still not great.
And you're talking about competition, racetrack, like the Japanese bikes where you're getting on, basically sliding on
Road
the elbow
racing.
on the turns. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's no more adrenaline fueled experience than riding a motorcycle at those speeds.
Yeah.
Cars, not the same thing.
Not even close.
Bungee jumping, skydiving.
Yeah.
It's not as fun. There's
wow.
something about you're going from 0 to 120 at Pacific International Raceway, and you got to get into turn 1 into a single file line. So just imagine a whole bunch of kids at the water fountain, and they all get there at the same time, and they're trying to figure out who goes first. Except you're going 120, and you got about 1 second to figure it all out, and bikes are kind of knocking into each other as they come into the corners and stuff. And if you've ever been in a car wreck where 2 cars sideswipe at like 60, scary as hell. Double that speed, and now we're approximating what this feels like. Although maybe your elbows or knees touch those bikes and stuff. It's exhilarating. My very first race was in Seattle, Washington, and I just happened to start on the front for no particular reason other than that's how I was gridded. And the backside of the track started to rain as I was coming around. And as I came into turn 9, it started to hail.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I'm not prepared for this. I'm like, do we race in the hail? Is this how it works? And thankfully we don't. But it was sort of this like slap in the face that like motorcycle racing gets intense at like a racer level versus just a fast street guy or a club level track day type guy.
Sure.
And so lots of races in the rain, lots of races where the bike is going sideways and you're on your knee and you're trying to like save the bike. And inevitably somebody's getting life flighted every single race. Somebody's going to the hospital. I've run over people. I've hit people. I've run into the wall. I've flipped my bike. You name it, I've done it. I went into the wall at the end of a straightaway going 100 and probably like 60 and went into the kitty litter and then hit the wall, broke my back, T7, T8, 8 herniated discs, which is amazing that I do Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
Because my back is a wreck.
Wow. This is at 160 you went down.
I actually jumped off the bike. I didn't want to hit the wall on the bike.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to hit the wall either way, but I just don't want to be there with a whole bunch of metal.
Yeah.
So if you've ever, again, driving down the highway and thought about just jumping out of your car door at 80, double it.
Yeah. It's another level. Yeah. I've not raced bikes like that, but the fastest I've went, because I had a motorcycle, I was like 19 when I got it. Mine topped out at about 165. I knew that because I tried it a couple times. Mine was a 600 cylinder. My buddy had a 1000 cc or 600 cc. My buddy had 1000 cc. I think I topped out at 177 one time. It's like the white stripes turn into solid lines. Yeah, at that speed.
It almost feels like the Millennium Falcon, like
it's
jump to
an incredible
light speed.
experience.
It's crazy. Your mind gets a little bit fuzzy with that kind of speed. It's interesting. For Super Bowl weekend in 2007, I went to Lake Tahoe with a couple of friends, and we were playing in the terrain park. And I was doing this gap jump. It was probably 20-foot gap, 40 foot to the end of the 2 jumps. And I'd done it several times. Very achievable. Last run of the day before the Super Bowl, I hit this thing and I went long. And so I landed on the flat. And I landed it, rode it out, but the impact was so hard, it shattered my heel, shattered my ankle, and bruised my other heel. And so couldn't stand up. My wife pulled up. She's like, "Are you okay?" I go, "Yes, but I'm going to need a second."
Yeah.
And so I assessed the situation, stood back up, couldn't stand, got the sled of shame on the way down the hill. Had to fly back from Tahoe with broken legs. I was casted up on both sides. I was that guy.
Wow.
And if you ever wondered what happens when you put your x-rays through an x-ray machine at the airport, it opens up a gigantic vortex into space-time. I wasn't actually sure what they would see, honestly, but apparently nothing.
Okay.
But the reason I'm saying that is because 3 weeks later, I had a motorcycle race that I was not going to miss. So in my cast, I take my cast off, put on my race boot, because I don't really have to put a lot of pressure on that peg if I don't want to.
Wow.
Went out and I'm racing with my broken leg. We come through the bus stop, which is the last corner before the straightaway. At which point, after you exit that corner, all the bikes are as hard on the gas as they can go for the next almost a mile, right? And so everybody there's probably 12 bikes in front of me. I go through the corner and then stand the bike up and get on the gas, and I see chaos in front of me. The first guy, Mark DeGrasse, lost his chain. So where he would normally be accelerating really hard, he's got no drive. The guy behind him just expects the bike in front of him to be hard on the gas.
Yeah.
And the guy behind him and the guy behind him.
Oh, gosh.
12 bikes have all ricocheted into one another. And there's bikes spinning, humans cartwheeling. And all I see is just this like melee of activity in front of me. There's no clear line. There's no way through this. I run over my teammate, Gary, and sent him to the hospital with an injured leg. And that caused my bike to kind of jump into the air, and I ricocheted off the inside wall. It ejected me from my motorcycle, and I'm like flying through the air like, oh shit, this is going to get interesting. I landed on my butt on top of the wall, and I just sat there like Humpty Dumpty.
No way.
I'm like, what the frick? And my bike goes on two wheels down the track for like 100 yards and then tips over on its side. Almost no damage, which was fantastic. But Mark broke his scapula and something else, and like two other guys got carted off to the hospital along with my teammate Gary. And it was funny, but not funny. The ambulance is picking all the people up on the track, and they got to me. I'm sitting on the top of the wall. They're like, "Are you okay?" I go, "Yes, but no. I'm going to need a ride back because I've got a broken leg." They're like, "How do you know you have a broken leg?" I go, "No, I broke that a while ago."
Oh, no.
I'm like, "You don't understand. I always have something going on." So,
gosh, wow.
A life of pain.
Wow, what an incredible story.
27 broken bones.
Gosh, that's incredible.
I need to take care of myself.
You do. Well, dude, you're the man. You've inspired me a lot just talking to you. It's been super fun. I'm sure we could talk for hours, but
I could.
Unfortunately, I've got to go back to work. But
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Really happy to be here. I hope that my presence increases your subscribership by tens.
Awesome. I hope it does.
Right,
that will be multiples compared to where I'm at. So, well,
Appreciate
dude,
you,
thank you
bud.
very much. I really appreciate it. You're the man.
Take care.